Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of SLTP. Just a couple of things to clear up before we move on. Last episode we were saying that Snobby was not in charge of Seattle DLC, but that was actually his last one he was in charge of. He just wasn't in attendance because he had other work commitments. So that was actually the last one he had to work on before moving on from the role. And the other one was you actually only need to announce lore gains. You actually don't have to announce lore losses as per the rules, which is interesting, I would say. So that's just something else I wanted to point out. And yeah, hope you enjoy the rest of the episode.
Welcome to the SLTP, aka the Secret Lorcana Testing Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Edge. I've got Shadox with me as usual, and then we've got three new people this time. We've kind of mentioned in the past that this is going to be one of those rotating podcasts, and in fact it might even be so rotating that people leave and join in the middle of the podcast. It's kind of treating it like our Discord, so to speak, where it's just you hop into a call. But anyway, with us we have Lizardkitty, who is fresh off a win at the Southside Games. We've got Justin, and we've got Joseph.
Hey.
How's everybody doing?
Great.
Happy to be here.
Happy to be here.
Cool. So I guess housekeeping, we added in a little blurb at the beginning of last podcast because obviously we recorded before the Reclem news had come about him not being invited to Worlds anymore, Jesse getting his Mickey, which was huge news. But for the last week, we've invited Lizardkitty to mostly talk about what transpired with her tournament. And then obviously the talk of the town for the last 3 days has been set release set previews. And there's been a bunch of cards that we think are going to impact the meta, so we'll probably talk a little bit about that. We might have some people hop in and out and talk to us about what they think is broken, what they think is going to make them quit, all types of things. But yeah, so I guess to start off, Melissa, you kicked ass this weekend.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a crazy weekend. I went down to Florida on Wednesday, spent 2 days in the Orlando area, and then drove down to Margate, Florida, which is where Southside Gaming is. Showed up on Friday evening and popped into their locals. I did not play locals, but they had a bunch of people. They had said that like World Class Cards had people popping in and out. They have basically 3 South Florida teams in the area who are all basically home to that store all the time. Illuminati, Freedom Gaming, and Southside Gaming all have kind of reps playing at the store. So I didn't play Friday. I think they had between 20 and 25 people on Friday, if I remember correctly. So it was a good turnout before the night. They're notorious for running really long tournaments, so I figured I'd get home and get rest since we had a 10 a.m. start. Showed up on Saturday with the 10K. Crazy turnout. I ended up, so round 1, I paired into J Shaft on Saturday, who I then ended up playing 2 more times, but we'll get into that. And he gave me a loss, unfortunately. He was on Sapphire Steel with Chichas, Tinks, the whole 9 yards, which Amethyst Steel just can't keep up with that.
Justin, your spirit animal. I could not think of the word for a second.
Yes, the other Justin was running your favorite combination. He wrecked me, and that kind of put me in the 0-1 bracket, which was fine. I was climbing from there. I won round 2, won round 3, won round 4. I believe it was round 5. I paired into another TFM team member who's also my partner and roommate, and we had to battle each other. And basically, we knew somebody had to win because we knew you would have to go like 6-1-1 to make it through. Ben ended up beating me. It is what it is. Such is life. And he ended up having a great rest of that day. He made it to top 4 of that tournament. So I came in on Sunday with full force, just saying like, today's my day. No one's stopping me.
Good stuff.
Round 1, we sat down. We had a repair, which was super awkward. Didn't really matter to me. It was a random person, and then it was another random person. Let's see. I don't remember what I played against round 1, but I have it written down here. Round 1, I played against Sapphire Steel again. And I sit down and I was like, great. here we go again. This is going to be an awful start. Different player too.
I haven't played Sapphire Steel in like 3 months, and you played it three times in a
It was
weekend.
absurd.
The only time
The
I've played against
Kiwis are
Sapphire,
rising.
I've literally only played Sapphire Steel when I was playing against Steve testing for Continentals. Like other than that, like I do not play against that deck.
I don't know. Lamb was there the day before. This person happened to be playing Lamb's deck, and I found that out because turn 1 they inked Pleakley, and I'm like, you're not running Pleakley if you're not running Lamb's deck.
Pleakley.
I was able to squeak out a 2-0 from them, which was awesome. It was best of 3, so like I knew I had a third chance if I lost the game, but I 2-0'd. All was good. Then round 2, I paired into an Emerald Amethyst tempo deck. I ended up beating them as well, which was very relieving. It's a usually favorable matchup for Amethyst Steel, but still, I kind of just wanted to keep the streak going. Round 3, I sit down and I pair into J Shaft again. But I learned that he was running Ruby Sapphire, not Sapphire Steel. So I was like, okay, at least this time I have a chance. Spoilers, he still destroyed me. He was running DKP's deck, had like perfect hands and won. Really phenomenal player, and it's fine. Everyone
And
can see it somewhere.
And you were playing Purple Steel, right?
I was, yes.
Yeah. So real quick before we continue.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm of the opinion, and I could be wrong because I haven't played a ton. I'll be honest, I have not played a ton of games since Continentals. But in theory, and from the little bit that I have played, I feel like Purple Steel is probably, if you're going to play against a red-blue deck, I feel like that DKP list is probably what you want to play against as Purple Steel, right?
Yes and no. I do think that there are times where Purple Steel is better positioned against it.
Yeah.
Personally, I have less reps against that deck.
Right, which makes sense.
For me, it was a little bit of more unfamiliarity where like I've spent so much time basically learning how to beat ice blocks that if it's a more traditional Sisu on ice, I kind of feel like I know what my game plan is.
Right, that makes sense.
You were on No Zeus too, right?
I was on No Zeus, correct.
That makes it worse.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah, right. Yeah, I think having at least 2 Zeus is important for that matchup.
Yeah, because basically, like, I get shark locked. And they basically drop shark as soon as they can.
Yeah.
He did end up inking a McDuck at one point, which I thought was interesting because like McDucks could put in work, but on the flip side, Crab and Fox can kind of just hit a McDuck, so like it all checked out to me. But yeah, so I ended up being 2-1 at the end of the 3rd round. This tournament was only 71, I believe, active players, so it was a 7-round tournament instead of an 8-round tournament.
Only 71 for a 70 or for a Sunday event is still pretty.
Sunday 2K, a Sunday 5K on Super Bowl Sunday.
Pretty dang good.
Yeah, that's the right. It was Super Bowl Sunday. Like what the hell?
So like it was still an awesome turnout.
All those
But I
people
knew
are my
basically,
people.
Like that was my loss of the day. If I wanted to hit top cut, I probably couldn't afford a second loss, and if I did, then I could potentially bubble.
Yeah.
So next round, I pair into Kurt.
Shout out Kurt.
Shout out Kurt. Kurt's a great player. Kurt made top cut the day.
I can't remember. Was he on Amber Steel or Emerald Steel? Okay.
He was on Emerald Steel. He basically said, "Everyone knows I play Amber Steel. I'm gonna run something different this weekend."
Fair.
Yeah.
He ran a hybrid of like what Zan had run and Wonder had run at NACC with a couple of tweaks to it.
That's so sad because he has access to the better version.
He tweaked it. He was very happy with his list. It was rather unfortunate. Like Kurt and I have been friends a really long time. We were on TFM together. We were both in SLTC. Like it was a team kill one way or another. We were both X1, so it was kind of unfortunate. I won the die roll. I was like, okay, at least we both know what we're playing. I'm on the play. I get roasted on the play. Like he hits 2 Diablos. He sings I'm still here. He has an Ursula out and kills my genie. He takes away my Elsa. Like any possible chance of getting rid of his Diablos just could not happen.
Oh yeah, you're toasted.
Yeah, I was dead. So we go into game 2. I'm on the play again. We have a much better sequence of hands. I basically took a completely different strategy and decided if you're going to try and rip my hand, I'm just going to top deck the entire time and trust that Amethyst knows how to top deck, which it's just a better strategy.
Especially if you're on docks, you could just like get your hand low and just pretend to top deck, and you actually just top deck docks, which is not like top decking at all.
Right, and I kind of was of the opinion that if you have a Diablo out and you draw 2, so be it. Like, I'm at least finding things to help me progress my game state.
Yeah.
We had a really good game 2. I ended up winning, so it was 1-1. We go to game 3. Now it's his play game. Not to say it's unwinnable, but Kurt on the play in an Emerald Steel deck is quite scary. We had a very good back and forth. I ended up putting him in a position where like none of his Diablos were sticking. He couldn't really feed off of the 2 Prince Johns that were out, and one thing led to another, and I ended up winning that match, which was very exciting.
Good stuff.
Nice.
So that was relieving. So at that point, it was round 4, and I was 3-1. Round 5, they then said that they were going to put me on a feature match, and I'm like, okay. I've been on a feature match before, but it was like a much lower stakes tournament. Sort of, kind of didn't really matter. Now, basically, I need to win out, and not only am I on stream, I have TFM Dan and TFM Dick Burns commentating from the other side of the room.
Was that the Amber Steel game?
That was the Amber Steel game,
Yeah.
yes. And I didn't know what my opponent would be playing at this point, because like it was a fairly big room. I couldn't really stake out the room while I'm trying to win and play my games. So I sit down, go through it. Luckily, Amber Steel is a matchup I'm very, very familiar with. Ben was running Amber Steel in the tournament, so we'd been playing it a lot leading up to it, and a lot of my friends play Amber Steel. So when I saw it, at least I kind of knew what my game plan was. I myself haven't watched those games back yet. I know there's a few things I probably could have done better, but when I saw it was Amber Steel, I felt very relieved knowing I knew how to kind of play through the game. So got the 2-1 there. Now we're going into round 6. I pair into Wochuk. I swear, it's a day of killers. Like, it doesn't stop.
First offs.
Well, that tournament as a whole, like I heard Saturday was stacked.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how stacked Sunday was, but I assume it was
Sunday was
quite
pretty
stacked.
I mean, Kurt was there. Zan ended up topping with me, which I'll get to.
Yeah.
G-Chef topped with me. There's a ton of SSG killers there as well.
Wochuk was there.
Chuck was there, yeah. So
Yeah, 71 player tournament on Super Bowl Sunday. Can't imagine there's a lot of like chumps that are going
all
to
the
that. You know?
diehards.
Was that the tournament that Zach and Zan paired into in round 1 against each other?
Yeah.
it was. of all the odds. So I pair into Wochuk. I sit down. He knows I'm playing Amethyst Steel. I know he's playing Amber Steel. But I also know he's on the wheel, where my feature match the round before was Diggy Diggy Hole. So like very different strategy in those games. And I didn't really know what his exact list was. I just knew that it was a wheel deck and most likely had Gastons because he's a Gaston lover.
Never let them go.
To each their own. Some people love Gaston.
I'm still not sold on Gaston, but that's just me. He's playing, if I remember correctly, he's playing Neverland in his deck too, right?
Yes,
He
you
did play
started looking that
Neverland.
in.
He did ink them on me, which was definitely the right decision.
Yeah.
That card doesn't seem. I mean, I'm not an Amber Steel player. I'm never going to argue that I'm an Amber Steel player, but I just don't see what Neverland is doing in that
It's
deck.
for red blue, I guess, where they can never kill red blue unless it's exactly Maui, I suppose. I
guess.
see the logic. I don't know if it's wide enough, but
He basically
if
told
red
me
blue
it
is
was
gonna
for
be-
his Ruby Sapphire matchup, and I said,
Yeah.
sure, that makes sense.
Sure.
Play it on turn 1, let it get 3 or 4 lore before they can chop it down.
yeah.
Like that, I want to wheel into 4 of them and just plop 4 of them down.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
I will say that I ended up beating him, which I'll get into, when he had to play the last round, and I did see him drop 2 of them after a wheel to win the game. So it did
That's pretty
serve its
nice.
purpose.
Yeah. Okay. So I can kind of see it in that perspective. Like early, I guess it's ink, and then post wheel is just like I'm gonna empty my hand. Oh, I have a wide board because I have to empty my hand, and I can drop these.
Yes. So
Like-
now, you have 2 locations that are going to potentially gain you 2 lore, plus all my other threats, and I'm at 15 plus already.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind. If Wochuk ever listens to this back, maybe I've convinced myself that it's actually okay.
Build your own manor.
I'm not 100% sold on it, but like build your own manor. Sure, I can see it.
I will say, Wochuk and I had very good games. I won the dice roll. It was a 2-1 matchup, so I'm not saying anything around that. Round 1, when I was on the play, I definitely had control most of the game. I believe when I looked back at my lore counting, I think in the first game he got maybe like 2 or 3 lore on me. I took very much a strategy of I'm killing your singers at all costs and forcing you to just hard cast everything if you want to deal with me, which ended up working out. When he was on the play, that was not the case. He smoked me. I think it was like 16-8 or something, and then he got to 20, and I would have gotten to 14. It's not.
That doesn't sound like smoking you.
It was very back and forth, but like his singers were sticking, and when his
Fair.
singers
Yeah.
were sticking with Zeus and other stuff, there's
That's
just
Amber Steel
we
for you
can do.
sometimes.
We go to game 3. I took a strategy that I knew I wanted to take, like stick at something on turn 1, stick a Calhoun on turn 2, stick something on 3. He plays Ariel. I sing Strength to get rid of Ariel, play a Pete so that he can't. I build my board. He then played a Gaston, I believe, and I played an Elsa to tap it down. I knew he had a wheel because Ariel took a wheel, and then I forced him to hardcast the wheel. It was kind of mean. But
I feel like late game, if you're playing against Amber Steel and they have to hardcast the wheel, you're in a very good spot.
Yeah.
That signal is when I'm like, okay, this game feels really good.
we looked at it. He had 2 cards in hand. I knew one of them was wheel, and I had a feeling it was 2 wheels.
Yeah.
And I got rid of his singer and passed back to him, and he goes, I don't want to do this, but I have to do it. I ink and I hardcast wheel and discard wheel.
Yeah.
And I kind of just like did a sigh of relief saying, okay, I have 4 things on the board. I'm going to build my board, and he's going to, in parallel, build his board. But I'm ahead on more.
Yeah.
So I ended up winning that, at which point I was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5 and 1. Yeah. So you can draw in.
I did, yes. So I paired with somebody else who was also 5 and 1. We drew in.
Good stuff.
Which was awesome and very exciting. 1x2, which was Wochuk, ended up making it in the 8th slot. So a bunch of people battled it out, and his breakers came out on top, which was nice
sense.
to see.
And so then you top 8'd. And do you know what was in top 8 with you? So you said Zan was playing. I think Zan was playing red blue with Felicia.
Yes, so we had Nathan Trippy, who's a local to Zan as well. I haven't watched it yet, but I believe Nathan was on Zan's podcast this week also.
Plus, I think, if I remember correctly, Nathan LCQ'd into Continentals, right? That was who he LCQ'd in with red blue?
Yes.
If I remember correctly?
That sounds correct.
Yeah, because I think I recognized him because he was LCQing, and I saw him the next day.
Yeah, so he ran red blue. I know he ran purple steel the day or amethyst steel on Saturday, and he pivoted just because of meta decisions.
Right.
So he ended up being in first. Funny story for him, he was in the same spot I was, where he was 5 and 1, but he got a pair down. And his opponent, if they drew, his opponent would have gotten top 16, and he would have gotten top 8. And his opponent said, no, I want to play. They played a red blue mirror, and Nathan won. So Nathan ended up being first seed, and the opponent still got top 16.
Yeah, to be fair, if that guy would have won, then I guess he's in Nathan's spot in first, but instead or no, sorry, he would have got the pair down. He probably would have snuck in at Wochuk's spot, maybe.
Yeah, quite possibly.
I believe that's what would have happened. Is something with like where Wochuk's spot would have been that guy's spot potentially.
I think that was Wink, who finished.
It was Wink.
Yeah, Wink, who finished first in Toronto side event, I think.
Yes, I know Wink.
The one that they finished second.
Yes.
For those of you listening and don't tune into the video, we had 2 people sneak in after I did intros. Dave is here, as well as Sailor.
Hello.
So they're here for, I'm assuming, to chat about cards, but we're talking about Melissa's tournament first. So we tactfully stalled till we could talk about cards.
I just need to know if Sailor switched to the satanic red on purpose, or.
That is
I feel like this has been his background for a while, but the satanic red is probably good leading into what we're going to talk about.
Sapphire coiling style of.
There we go.
Oh, spoiler alert.
But yeah, so we had Nathan on Ruby Sapphire. We had Zan in second, also on Ruby Sapphire. I'm pretty sure Nathan and Zan were running very close, if not identical lists.
That makes sense to me.
J Shaft was in third. He was on DKP version of Ruby Sapphire. Then in fourth, we had Sploosh Magoo from Freedom Gaming. He is an Amethyst Emerald player.
Okay.
I believe he topped 64 in Atlanta.
Okay.
And I know he's casted in ICL and some other stuff.
Okay, 3 red, blue, and a green, purple, and a purple steel.
Then we had me in fifth as purple steel. In sixth, we had Jonathan Sweet. He was running Ruby Steel. I believe he had a feature match.
Oh, right, the base as all heck list.
Yes.
Then we had, I'm going to mess up his name. It's Jordan something from Snuggly Duckling. He was running Lemon Lime Discard, like basically your set 4 deck.
Okay.
Let's go.
And he very literally told me this is a set 4 deck.
Okay, I was like, I don't know how that deck is still alive, but I guess that
No,
makes
he
sense.
needs to.
it's not a lie. If you took it out of the casket and played it for a tournament, that makes sense.
So we had
It's not
Ruby
real.
Steel, the lemon lime, and then Wochuk on Amber Steel was the 8th
Okay.
spot.
So no red,
Decent
purple.
diversity.
It
Makes
was
sense.
certainly diverse meta in a way, but like we didn't get any Ruby Amethyst amongst it.
I
So
don't think Ruby Amethyst is in a great spot right now. And I know, I always say that, and Dave's probably just going to make fun of me for saying it, because I always say it and then end up playing it anyway. But like with the shift to the red-blue lists playing DKP, that matchup is way harder. I think that opens up some other areas in the meta for it to, I don't know, it's just always like 50% in the meta, except for this other deck that's just weird.
and the Florida meta had like way more Amber Steel and Purple Steel than Continentals did, so that made it, I think, tougher for Red Purple to target.
Yeah.
I may be in the minority here, but and maybe I'm not, but I just think the purple steel matchup is free as red purple.
I think
Especially-
you're complete. Playing as Purple Steel, I love to play against.
3 is pretty strong,
Enter.
but
I
think, well, okay, so timeout.
I think it's favorable.
Maybe the dock versions are harder,
Yeah, I was gonna
but the
say
rabbit
like.
version is free.
So I wanted to ask you, like, why did you want to run A Purple Steel but B the dock version specifically?
So, as some of you may know, for a very, very long time, I played Ruby Amethyst, like 1 through 3, basically exclusively. It was all I was running.
Yeah.
When Chicago hit, I just was like, I can't do this. I hate playing against Diablo. I hate playing against Discard. And I needed to pivot. So I jumped to Ruby Sapphire for like a hot second. I played a lot of Amber Steel. I bounced around. And then when this set came, when Azurite Sea came back through, I was testing Amber Steel for a while, which I felt really, really confident in, until Ruby Sapphire took that kind of, well, Ruby Sapphire sucks. Oh, wait, 2 weeks later, everyone loves Sapphire again.
I reset.
And so at that point, I kind of just said to myself, what am I going to play that, like, I was prepping for LCQ. I told myself I would not bring Amber Steel to the LCQ. I said, as much as I love the deck and it's well positioned, if I face a single Ruby Sapphire, I don't stand a chance. I need a deck that can do well and also stand a chance to Ruby Sapphire. And I love Amethyst cards. I always have and I always will. So I decided that I was going to, if I couldn't play Ruby Amethyst to what I felt was the best of my ability in a well-positioned place, I was going to take what to me felt like the next best thing that fit my play style. So I bounced around a lot between playing rabbits, playing docks on Amethyst Steel, and there was something about just like bouncing dock and replaying dock that I just really enjoyed and felt well positioned with. And I think basically since the middle of December, I was playing it pretty exclusively, like in internal testing with TFM and internal testing with friends and just at any chance I had. And so I've kind of just stuck with it since then.
Yeah, it's
Good
been
stuff.
mostly you and JDRR that have been talking by far the most in the Purple Steel thread when we've been chatting.
Yeah, and like
I know
even on TFM, like TFM Dan has been pretty hard on Amethyst Steel ever since he topped it he got 9th in the CCS event because he drew in and then bubbled. But which is unfortunate, but we were both confident that Amethyst Steel was a strong combination. We ended up landing on lists that were different, but both felt strong into the meta in our own ways.
Yeah, the red-blue matchup is an interesting one specifically, and I think that, like I said, I think the DKP list is a little bit better if you're on more Zeus's.
Yeah.
But I'm curious what your thoughts are. Like, I know when we talk about Doc versus Rabbit, and you ask JDRR, it's like if you want to play against red decks, you want to play the Rabbit version. Otherwise, you play the Doc version. But I'm curious if you think that the Doc version is probably better against red-blue than people make it out to be.
I think it's one of those things that once you know your lines and you know the matchup, you kind of just have to stick to your plan. Like, it is a challenging matchup, especially now with super goofs. Like, Dave will know this from our old testing days of Ruby Amethyst. All I love to do is play a 1-on-1 and triple 1 or like double 1-on-2, have the 3/1 drops and try and like quote unquote aggro them out, which with super goofs and inkable ramp makes those things a lot more challenging because Tipo can answer that, or even just dropping a Maui 1 turn earlier can answer that, or a Tala. So it's not easy, and you get to a spot where you might be top decking, and Ruby Sapphire is always going to top deck better than any version of Amethyst, let alone Amethyst Steel that's a bit lower to the ground than I'd say like a Rabbit version or a Tinkerbell version. But I try and kind of let the Peats stick at the right time, bounce the Peats. Like, honestly, I often prioritize bouncing a Peat over bouncing a Dock or bouncing a Goat,
which makes sense,
dependent on like where I am in the game to try and last out.
The ability to bounce Peat seems super strong to DKP build, of course.
I think that's one of the main reasons that I like that list against it, is because you have the repeat ability and you have Zeus's to kill the sharks and you can just swarm them out.
Completely agree. And like there's so many 3/3s that are in an Amethyst Steel list right now that with less ice blocks or abilities to lower kind of the strength, your bodies are more likely to stick.
Yeah. That makes a ton of sense.
So how are you feeling after a great run like that? And yeah, I guess how do you reflect on that in that way?
I will say that when I drew in the 7th round, I was very anxious because I was like, hey, I'm top 80, like this is really cool. But there's at least 3 red blue, like Ruby Sapphire guaranteed. And 2 of those people are J Shaft and Zan, who are like not only on world-class cards, but are like phenomenal players who have topped events time after time. Like I believe J Shaft was in top 16 at NACC. Zan obviously has had crazy runs in multiple DLCs. So as Amethyst Steel, I was very anxious to say like, well, if I pair them, that's not great. And J Shaft did 2-0 me during Swiss twice. So didn't feel great, but at the same time was super excited. Lucky for me, unlucky for Sploosh Magoo, I paired into him. He was 4th seed, I was 5th seed. I was thrilled because I love the Emerald.
Speaking of free matchups.
So even though I was on the draw, I felt very confident that I'd be able to at minimum 2-1, which is what ended up happening there. So at that point, I was then super thrilled because I'm like, hey, I made it to top 4. And I look around me, the other top 4 is Nathan, Zan, and J Shaft. So we have
red blue.
Boy.
Diverse meta, baby.
We've got 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed, and me as the 5th seed. So like, not only am I never going to be on the play, but it's like, to me, what is the worst matchup? Like, Sailor and I have talked about this before. In a 2-game format, you hope to split that matchup if you know how to play it and be satisfied. For better or worse, I paired into Nathan, who I guess to me was the least scary of the opponents, mostly because I just didn't know him, where the other 2, like J Shaft I played and had lost to, and Zan is just very well known, and I think in general people can be intimidated to play against somebody who's won a DLC before. Not that I couldn't do it, it was just see what happens. I paired into Nathan, they said, hey, you're not a mirror match, so you guys are going on stream.
Nobody wants to see Red Blue Mirror again.
I actually like that matchup, but I guess I'm in the minority. Like, I don't like if I get more comfortable with the deck, but I think that it's very skill intensive. And Sailor, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the Red Blue Mirror is the least play draw dependent matchup in the entire meta.
That's fair.
It depends. It can snowball on the play. If
can.
If you go Hiram, it's impossible to lose because they need to brawl every turn, and then they've left with no cards, and you've drawn 6. Like it's just absurd. But like there's certain things on the play that are very snowbally. But in general, you're right. Like it's not all or nothing. Like you can have like if you answer the Hiram and they don't have one to follow up, then you can do your own thing on the following turn, and then like it's all right. Like it's not too play draw dependent. You're right, but it comes down to like you need to draw in the right order. It's very much that it's skill intensive, but really like if both players know how to navigate it, it's a bit like the rabbit thing in Ruby Amethyst Mirrors, right? Like
who finds the Hirams.
But that's just it. Is it's not like I think some people mistakenly play it as if you need to make sure that you have ramp on 2 because you need to play Hiram first. And I think it's less about playing Hiram first, and I actually argue that it's not about that. It's about maintaining your Hirams and consistently. And I remember Erebos telling me Like, and I don't know if Sailor, if you agree with this, but in the red-blue mirror, he doesn't keep Tipo. The only turn 2 ramp that he plays is Sail, because he doesn't want to lose the extra card.
It's interesting.
It depends what that card is. So I would not default to doing that. Because that
Fair.
people can quest for 4, right? And so like by the end of the game, like 4 is massive, right? So no,
People
I would
also
not
nice-
default to that.
This was
Yeah.
back in December, so he might have changed his mind, but I just remember him. There was a point in time where I was testing against him. I was playing red purple. He was playing red blue, and he was just like, "If you want to play red blue, like I will grind. I'll help play with you. I'll help like go through this." And like he started like spouting off a couple things, and just one of the things that stuck in my head was, I don't even keep Tipo in the mirror. Like I always I gun for Sail. Like I want to play Sail. I don't want to play other turn 2 ramp.
Tipo is also nice to keep as early ink, so assuming you have a good enough hand otherwise, just so you don't draw it later.
Well, I guess sorry when I. Like, he might keep it to ink it, but
Okay.
he doesn't keep it to
To
play
play
it.
it.
Is
Fair
more
enough,
what
fair
I mean.
I think the other thing was
'Cause
that
I do think red blue is one of the decks. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think the other thing was less about the fact that the players didn't want to play on stream or anything, but the viewers did not want to watch a
Yeah.
Ruby Sapphire
Oh, yeah.
premiere, potentially for
I
2
would've turned it
reasons,
off.
because 3/4 were Ruby
Yeah,
Sapphire.
well,
So,
fair.
so Gabe, Stefan,
People might be a little
Stefan-
sick of red blue.
Gabe and Stefan said, "You're going on stream," and that was that. And so I sat down to play Nathan. And to be honest with you, at the time, I didn't know if he was running a DKP type list or more of what Zan had been running. I caught the end of Zan and Zach's stream game because my round 1 had finished early. So I had seen that Zan was on Sisu on Ice, or at least to a degree Sisu on Ice, but I didn't know anything about what the other folks were playing. One thing leads to another. I see the ice block come down and say to myself, oh, there's an ice block. This means it's likely not DKP. I try and play a little around Super Goose, don't see a Super Goof. Realize that it's more kind of a tradition, for the most part, a traditional Sisu on Ice build similar to Sailor's list. And in my head, kind of have a sigh of relief, just because, like I had mentioned before, it's a matchup that I know fairly well how to maneuver. And if I remember correctly, I won game 1, and then I went on to lose the second game when I was on the draw. But then I played in game 3 on the play and took a very much, I'm just going to aggro strategy and just win.
I remember watching game 3, and you just like turbo aggroed, which made sense.
Yeah, I was like, I'm on the play. I'm just going to get a Smee down, get my ones out, draw some cards, and try and win before they can do anything funny.
Sounds like you're playing purple steel, yep.
Yeah.
Felt good.
Also preying on his bad draws, which he had. Like he drew way too many small Sisus and like what's the 3-1 that he was playing? Like it was very
Felicia?
geared towards aggro, but I don't think it's lined up really well into your purple steel.
Do we know if they were playing 4 ice block on that list with Felicia's and with that many Sisus?
I can look.
I don't know.
You gotta be on ice block with Felicia, then your Felicia
Well,
could
I would
live.
assume 2 or 3, but I'm wondering if they went as far as to go to 4 because of Felicia. Because I remember some of the Gaston lists were like it was 4 ice blocks. That way Gaston could actually.
I don't think you're
Take
keeping
out-
Felicia alive.
It looks like it's a 3 ice block, 4
Fair.
popsicle, 2 Vitalis Sphere, 1 Great Stone, 1 Dime is the items.
I don't know. Felicia can kill a broom and live.
The worst thing was my 1 drop that I played was Diablo. So Felicia got to kill.
Yeah, that one too.
Oh, the value.
So Felicia got double value because it got to kill a Diablo, I drew a card, and then it got to kill a Smee.
Yeah, it was definitely alright.
Nice.
Yeah.
Ooh,
The
Sailor,
finals.
new red-blue card just dropped, buddy.
Oh, live reaction?
Live reaction.
We'll get to it.
4 cost 3/3. Quest for 2. When this character quests, chosen character of yours gains rush and resist 1.
Fascinating.
Huh.
Is that real fascinating or Justin fascinating?
Both. I'm trying to internalize it.
That's actually pretty decent, I think.
It's actually... That feels like it's gotta be a good card, but it doesn't play like perfectly into regular red-blue decks, probably.
No,
Yeah,
it's
that's just
more
it, it's
like
like-
of a mid-rangey type card.
Yeah. This feels like a. I always akin because obviously, so Magic Bless you? No, that was a scratch. I'm not sure what that was. Anyway, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Blue in general, because it ramps, is so similar to green that whenever I'm trying to build blue decks, I always look at, just because history repeats itself, what are the types of green decks in Magic that did well and that would do well if they had just a way more card advantage, because that's what also blue has for some reason. And this to me looks like a green-red, like mid-range type of card where early ramp into just something that lets you gain value and board control early.
The question would be, what do you
not
play
only does
after?
It get board control, but it also quests while doing that. But
Yeah,
the issue with it is that we would need a 5-drop to go along with it. That doesn't already have Rush, right? Like,
Not Maui.
Why give Maui?
Yeah.
Like resist one, right? Like it doesn't really do
Right.
anything.
What if you could give Maui Shark Rush and resist?
Yo, wait a second. That's kind of a feeling.
Let's work with the shark.
That would be good, but then like it doesn't fit into the curve. But
Doesn't fit yet.
maybe you play this on turn 4 after having played.
You just
like,
throw this guy
super
down in a
goof.
pot.
Like maybe that's like a DKP's, maybe a little bit more.
I don't
maybe.
think it's in any kind of current red-blue list, because I think it's too mid-range for these control-y builds, I think. But I like the design of it because it tries to push red-blue in a bit of a different direction, which I appreciate.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's
I think of the dual ink cards that we've seen, this is by far the least trash.
I mean, yeah.
Like,
Well,
sorry. Like, there's ones that are way better, but like overall, the dual ink cards have not been very strong
no,
as a whole.
you're right.
We'll get into it.
Yeah, we're not there yet. We had
Almost.
live reaction, almost there, but
Beagle Boys.
Beagle Boys.
I like the art.
Yeah, that art is kind of cool.
It looks like he's gonna. Is that it? Okay, so I'm just trying to figure. Okay, for first off, what is this from?
DuckTales.
DuckTales?
That's
Yep.
DuckTales, yeah.
So what's he hucking?
A dog. A beagle.
Oh, it's a dog.
He's gonna huck
Oh.
the other beagle
baby
boy
beagle.
or
Yeah,
something.
so
Or
this-
somebody.
This is like a gang of like gangster,
Yeah.
and they're thugs, right? And so they're like throwing each other at
They are a
heroes or
family
whatever.
clan of organized criminals.
Yeah,
Is what the
Interesting.
Disney Wiki would describe them as for people who don't know.
I mean, the
Arcana's
first thing I
first
thought when I
thoughts.
saw the art was like, whose face can I Photoshop on these two?
Right?
Uh,
Who's
I'm
trying?
cur-
Who's trying to like throw somebody in the, in the ring?
oh, I know what
Triple.
this
Oh,
is.
you know who that is?
This is no. This is me and Boomy throwing TJ at the red blue players. Go get him, TJ.
But so you won your semis and then finals, and I think I misspoke at the beginning because I feel real bad for saying this, but you didn't. I can't remember. Did you win or did you finish second? I feel bad now.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got second.
Don't worry. This is not the first time I misspoke on this podcast.
I've
It's
already
something
planned
that
to
I
put a
should know
note.
the answer.
Yeah, so Nathan and I finished our set, and next to us, Justin and Zan were still playing. And like I had mentioned, they were both on Ruby Sapphire, so it was basically a Sisu on ice versus a DKP matchup. It ended up being 2-1 in Justin's favor. I believe Justin was third seed and Zan was second seed, so Justin had won 2-1 on the draw. I think that kind of tracks with some of the stuff we'd heard DKP and others say around kind of the matchups, but both very skillful players. I ended up catching the end of the games, and they looked close.
Yeah, but like I think like all the small Sisus and the Felicia must have been pretty trash in that matchup.
Straight into the inkwell.
I mean, yeah, the Felicia, but the small Sisu can be a liability, and like even like the ice block, like all the anti-aggro stuff is just. Ugh.
Yeah, that was tough. Justin and I met again. Like I mentioned, I played him in Swiss, and he had 2-0'd me. At this point, like I was on cloud 9 that I had made it that far, but at the same time, I was like, I want to try and do this. Like I'm not just stopping now. We play game 1, and if I remember correctly, he beat me game 1, and then I won game. I don't remember if I won game 1 or he won game 2, or vice versa.
I think he won game 2.
That's what I thought. So we play. I win game 1. I haven't had a chance to watch it back yet because I just got home yesterday. And then we play game 2. We go through it, and I remember like paying very close attention to what is he inking, what ink is he on, which like that's always important in a matchup, especially in a Ruby Sapphire matchup. I want to make sure I have a Pete when they're going from 6 to 7 ink. I want to make sure that I don't drop a Genie on a turn I know that they're just going to brawl it. And in one of the games, I remember my Genie stuck, and I thought to myself, he skipped ink. He must have been clogged with uninkables. I believe the casters told me he was stuck with like a B prep and something else in his hand at the time. We go through the third game. He ends up getting me in the third game, which they were good games. I felt in myself, I was very proud that instead of being 0-2'd, it was a 1-2, because like at least I had learned from it and knew more about how to play against the matchup. And not only that, but like he's topped several events. Like he's a very good player as well. Shout out to Justin again if he watches this. Very well earned and deserved on your part. At this point, we missed the entire Super Bowl too. Like I had no concept of time or anything, and like
You didn't miss much.
Yeah.
No, it was just funny because so Dan and Dick had left to go watch the Eagles because Dan's a Phillies guy and a huge Eagles fan. And like they came back to the store, and I'm like, "Whoa, you guys are back! Like, what time is it?" And they're like, "Super Bowl's over." I just had no idea how late it was. And I was just super ecstatic. Courtney, I was like, "Hey, now I get to go to Disney World, just like the Eagles," because that's literally what I did the next day.
And that's literally what Jalen Hurts did the next day. There's a video of him on
I was there. I watched him.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Not gonna lie, very underwhelming. It was only Jalen Hurts on a float. Like I was hoping for more.
In celebration of the Purple Seal talk here, we have a live reaction again.
Oh.
Another one?
Yeah.
Oh, snap. Is it a Purple Steel card? Oh, wow, it is.
Exert all opposing
Oh, this is neat.
Whoa, wait a second.
Purple Steel Rare, restoring the crown. Exert all opposing characters. Whenever one of your character banishes another character into challenge this turn, gain 2 lore.
Isn't that kind of crazy?
It's an uninkable 6, which is
It's tough. The cost is tough. The effect is very good, though.
I don't know if I would use the word crazy, but I definitely don't think it's unplayable. It's a finisher.
What I'll say is it's less risky that it's an expensive uninkable because you can just like chuck it to Cobra.
To Cobra.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you
or
go.
Dog.
Or dog.
Or dog.
Play Cobra or dog?
A bit of a theme here of these Amethyst Steel gaining 2 lore.
Yeah, I mean this card will always gain 2 lore. It's just probably not when you play it.
This feels like a Bloodlust style card.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
Exactly.
So
I'm a little bit
this card will
confused.
teach Lizardkitty to quest with her Diablos.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Oh, frick.
It might be too expensive, but the effect is strong enough that it's interesting.
It's definitely something to consider. I feel like we have to see what else shapes out. We've gotten cards
At first, it seems bad when you're behind, right? And you're trying to fight the board. You don't have a board, and you draw this. You kind of want to kill yourself, right? For running a 6-cost uninkable that doesn't help you get back into it.
I mean, let's just do Runner because there's another one that just popped up.
Oh my
I
gosh.
actually don't hate this one. 4 ink Gizmo Duck, 4/3 resist 1. This character can challenge ready damaged characters.
Huh.
Always put damaged in there.
Oh, they just sneak that in on you. So you read it wrong at first, and then you're like, oh, it's great, and then it's, no, never mind.
This artwork is just straight up nostalgia, right?
It's really good art. The art instead of so far.
I mean, you could play Tink and then just kill stuff with this thing, right? Right? Sort of?
Yeah.
That's
sure.
the idea. Or
Would you like mosquito bite?
Or like the big John Silver, right? Like that's
there's
their
that.
idea, at least.
Big John Silver.
I don't think this one's as good. I think
I'm
it's
just going to play
okay, but-
Cogsworth.
Yeah.
But he's an inventor. In green steel.
Yeah, in the wrong colors, but so I guess before we move on to like what I would consider the secondary main topic. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about, Melissa, about your tournament?
No.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It was
congrats.
lovely. Like I can't give enough kudos to the Southside Gaming crew, to Gabe and Stefan from Illuminati, who basically do all the casting and cameras behind the scenes. It is quite the setup they have there. Like, I'm sure many of you saw it because you were watching, but not only can you see like the tables, but you have hand cams and face cams, and then you have the caster cams from when Dan and Gabe and whoever else were casting, and they even remoted DeCandio in, is my understanding, to cast.
Yeah, they did.
Yep.
There was a lot of behind the scenes, and they put on a really great show. I believe they had consistent viewers as well. So shout out to Southside. If anyone lives near there or has the chance, would highly recommend checking out the store. They also run locals just like basically every day of the week, is my understanding, as long as people are there, which was pretty cool. Like, they had tournaments Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday that were all like win a Chapter 1 box leading up to the event, which, I don't know, that's pretty cool. It was like $15 or $20 buy-in and chance to win a box.
That's pretty good.
So just thank you to everyone there. Like, shout out to TFM. Like, it was really fun to hang out with everyone there. We don't know when the next DLC is. Like, I'm super used to hanging out with them like every month, because there was a DLC for so long, like running into everybody. So it was cool to kind of get together and see everyone, because we don't know what's next. I mean, like, there's Charlie's, there's other events, but we're waiting on Ravensburger.
How's your Pokemon career, Dave?
What happened?
Pokemon's been a blast. Dave's just silent on the Pokemon career piece.
Oh, sorry. What did I was making a joke. What did I miss?
He was too busy making fun of people in our Discord. He asked how your Pokemon career was going.
I don't know. I mean, I log in and I open my boosties like everybody else. I've already got all my wins for this season. So
yeah, I did mine too. I will say that you were one of the first people that was like on Executor. Like, I know he got more popular this set because of Darkrai, but you were one of the people that was playing it more consistently than anyone else. So seeing it pop off, I was like, that's pretty typical. But so I guess transitioning into our main topic, Josh.
Crystal Ball Dave.
Crystal Ball Dave. That actually transitions really well, because one of the people that I look to the most when we're going through cards season, spoiler season, is Dave. And specifically, like, if I ever get to a point where I don't know if a card is going to be good or not, or if I'm like, this card is really good and Dave tells me I'm wrong, I typically am first to listen to him, because the way he evaluates cards as a whole is typically on point, as is indicative of what was predicted last set, when pretty much all the cards that were good were good. There were some that you thought were really good that I wasn't 100% sure on, and they didn't end up being good, but that's okay. Story for another day.
I'll say my one big myth the last few sets has been Visions.
And I was on Visions.
Mostly because I just didn't think that people could afford to squeeze. Like, you have to add the cost of 2 onto whatever you get, right, for that turn, and I thought that was like too big of a price to pay. And it turns out it's just not at all. You just red blues everything.
No, yeah.
You can just easily pay 2 for anything.
Yeah.
Before you jump too deep into it, I might have to run, so I wanted to say thank you for having me on before we get into spoilers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Hold on,
Congrats,
before you go, what card are you most excited about?
Ooh, right now I think it's a close call between Lady, the 5-drop uninkable, and the Giant Cobra. Lady, because Lady and the Tramp is just my absolute favorite, and her ability seems quite strong for aggro decks. And Cobra just seems like it's another piece of burn into Amethyst Steel.
Cobra's nuts. Cobra's the card that I'm most excited for this set too. But cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start talking about spoilers. Melissa, feel free to just sneak out whenever you need to. Like, just treat it like a Discord call. That's how we kind of treat the podcast as a whole, to be completely honest with you. So that's okay. So as we get into it, so obviously set 7. Oh, she's just gone. Nice.
See you.
Set 7. We've been receiving spoilers ever since Monday. We're recording this on February the 13th. Which is not Friday the 13th, it's Thursday the 13th. But so we've got a list of cards that most of which I would say are probably not going to be impactful. There's been a few cards, few heavy hitters that are relatively impactful. One that got spoiled even as recently as today that I think is what a lot of people would argue is the most impactful. But we'll obviously see how the meta plays out as a whole. And then, yeah, I guess, do we want to start talking about cards? Do we want to start talking with Dave about evaluation methodology? Like, where do we
let's
kind of
start
want
with
to go?
Dave. Dave wanted to chat about what's a good way to evaluate a card that we've never seen before.
So there's tons of ways to do it. A lot of people do like out of 10 or out of 5 or whatever. I try to do it out of 4. So the first, like the best cards in the set are 4s, and those are cards that are obviously powerful, but you have to contort your deck to make them work. Right. So like Hiram's a perfect example of that. You have to play items if you want to play Hiram, right? Or like the Mim package as a whole is collectively a 4 because like Rabbit by himself is just fine, but Rabbit plus all the Mims is this value engine that just grinds out everything. The other things that could be 4s are similarly like Be Prepared, which is just this ubiquitous good card that, but again, you kind of have to build your deck around, right? You can't play an aggro deck with Be Prepared in it. You plan around it. So then 3s are just like what I'll call format staples, just cards that if you're playing that color or color combination, you'll just pick up 4 of and throw them in your deck. So like Smee is the quintessential 3, where if you're playing Steel, you just are probably picking up your Smees. Or like Ariel in Steel Song, like she's not the reason you're playing Steel Song, but she's just like a very good Steel Song card. That in some lists, like if you talk to our friend Boomy, he chose to cut Ariel, so she's not in every deck, right? But she's still pretty good. 2s are cards that are situationally powerful, so cards that will go in and out of the metagame. Cards you should probably own and pay attention to, and then 1s are just the cards that are never going to see play. Those are like your draft rares or your draft
chaff.
Yeah, or just like the vanilla cards, like the 6 cost, 6 7s or 4 8s or whatever. Like they're never.
Would it be fair to say that like 2s are like the tech cards?
Yeah.
Would it be fair to say 2s are like the tech cards?
Yeah. So if I were to like of the total card pool, right? So the cards that are 4s are like 1 to 2% of the entire card pool, but they're the best cards in the game, so you see them all the time. I would say like 3s are probably like 5% of the card pool, and then 2s are like 45% of the card pool, and then 1s are what's ever left. And so something that I would personally consider a 2, even though it's a very good card and sees a ton of play, is like Piglet, the Amber, the Amber 2/2 that could quest for 3 if you have 2 other characters in play. It's not a staple. I mean, it certainly is, right? You play it a ton, right? But it's not a guarantee that if you're picking up Amber cards, you're putting Piglet in your deck, right? It's a choice over, Lilo, and sometimes Lilo is going to be better if you're walking into red heavy metagame. Or like if you knew you were only going to play exclusively Steel decks with Grab Your Swords and Fire the Cannons, you would never reach for them.
Based on that rating system, that makes sense. Piglet tends to come in and out of lists as it goes.
Even stuff like Medusa and Tremaine in red purple, I would put in the 2 category. And there's certainly staples, you see them all the time, right? But whether you're choosing to play Medusa or Tremaine or neither or both, kind of depends.
Medusa very much vanished this format after being such a staple.
Yeah. So anyway, I think there's only 1 4 in the set. If we could talk about that one first, and I'm most interested about it because our buddy Justin is here, and I'm wondering if it's going to pull him back to Blue Steel proper, or if he's going to continue to play his little curve aggro deck.
Wait, hold on.
Wait a second.
If we're thinking about the card, you think it's a 4?
Tamatoa?
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
That makes way more sense. Joseph, hold on, Joseph, were you thinking about the Bagheera?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I thought the one for would be the card revealed today.
Yeah, no. I'm most curious about the Tamatoa for Justin real quick, if he could.
Yeah, okay, that makes way more sense. I forgot about Tamatoa.
Yeah. That's certainly fair. Tamatoa's pretty crazy, right?
And while we have Sailor here, I would like to get his opinion on Tamatoa too.
Here, I'm going to pull up this with both cards. Let me see how this works if I share it.
Are you using the... Nice.
Yeah, he is.
Well, this works too.
Right.
So for those of you that live under a rock, or that haven't been paying attention to spoiler season, or heaven forbid you are trying to avoid spoilers and you decided that you were going to listen to this podcast anyway, sorry. So Tamatoa, Happy as a Clam, is a 6 ink 4/5 quest for 2. When you play this character, return up to 2 items from your discard to your hand, and whenever this character quests, you may play an item for free. Both heavy hitters.
It's a Sapphire.
I would argue one of the biggest reasons that you played original Tamatoa was, like, yes, it quested for lots, and that was fine, but you mostly played it for the value engine, and this does this as good, if not better.
So one shot better, and like if the game goes for a long time, worse.
Right.
But like if it goes for a long time, it was always gonna win the game anyway. So I feel like could be better. But like the caveat to that, I think, is that a lot of the time, if you have Hiram along with it, then you can just do the dance, right, of like drawing 4 cards per turn, right? Whereas this won't let you do that in the long run. Like it just lets you do it like once.
Well, twice in theory.
I mean, yeah, but like right now, but you might not have 2, right? Like
right, I guess that's fair.
I think the setup cost is quite high for it to get its biggest value, specifically on curve.
That's a very red-blue centric statement right there.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, speaking as someone who is going to probably wheel some items away, Justin.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's a little bit better in
I think that it's much better in Blue Steel.
Yeah,
for sure. Absolutely.
It also, because you have the 4 additional popsicles, right? You have the 4 spheres.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest reason that this is good in Blue Steel is if you have to ever discard a dime, this not only gets the dime back, plays it for free, that when you have a card like Ariel playing dime for free and just being able to quest and ink in the same turn, quest and like tap the dime down the same turn is going to be terrifying.
Yeah, I was a certified dime hater. As a Blue Steel ramp player, I think that card is very overrated. I went down to 1 dime in Seattle. I went down to 1 big Tamatoa. I actually almost didn't play Tamatoa at all. It was like a last-minute decision to put 1 Tamatoa into the deck for Seattle. Because those things are so slow for Blue Steel. And what this does is it actually says, you know what, let's not be slow, let's be fast, which is what Blue Steel wants to do, right? The whole point, especially the whole New World versions, right? The whole point of that deck is to jam through as much card velocity as you can by throwing things into the inkwell, singing these whole new worlds and grab your swords, and just like creating this big board. And so what Tamatoa says is, don't give up on going fast. We're going to return 2 item cards. I'm not going to do it over multiple turns and require multiple quests to do it. I'm just going to do it right now because we want to go fast. And you're not going to spend 7 ink playing this uninkable item. You're going to get it for free. So spend that ink playing Ariel, spend that ink playing Gontu, right? Like, spend the ink playing the character, get the dime for free sort of thing. Now, obviously, that's, depends on Tamatoa living a turn, right? But there's things that you can do to try and make that happen. Whether that's Cogsworth, that could be Alice, it could be, depending on the situation, like I'm looking at Shield of Arendelle as a potential 1 or 2 of in the Blue Steel lists as something to think about.
The stat line
is like what the hell is this card?
Yeah, right.
I'm googling it.
I mean, the 4/5 stat line is like pretty sturdy in general. It's
It
pretty good
is.
into red removal, at least before today, but it's still pretty sturdy into red removal.
Yeah.
And it
It's a
can get
one-cost
Zeus, but at least you got value out of it at that point.
So I'm very excited about that card. I think it's gonna definitely make me take another look at larger blue steel builds. I think this set, like, clearly Jonathan Lamb has done well with it. And even like if you go back to EU Continentals, like Primor did not do badly. Dr. Facilier, I think his real name is Justin Morales, didn't do badly at EU Continentals. So Blue Steel was never going to disappear. And of course our own Steven, he did quite well at Continentals despite not making top 16 here at NA. So like Blue Steel wasn't gone, but it was in the roughest spot that it's been I would say all 6 sets so far. And I will say that this Tamatoa, while it makes the deck faster and does the things it wants to do, like it really leans into that, it doesn't answer the question of Blue Steel still doesn't have good removal. Like the removal that Blue Steel has doesn't match up well into aggressive decks. And so that's still going to be an issue to keep an eye on.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think the one caveat to that is like one of the pieces that I think Blue Steel had a problem with is not only aggressive decks, but like even killing opposing Tamatoas, like you basically just had let it goes. Whereas I think now with this Tamatoa, you're going to see other big Tamatoa go down, and if Red Blue's premier threats are Sisu and Shark, Zeus lines up pretty nicely into those as well, and Zeus lines up nicely into this. So there's a chance that Along Came Zeus becomes like one of the premier removal spells in the next format, depending on how things go.
Yeah.
Read a card like Tamatoa compared to the other legendaries this set, and you go like, somebody in that design room just really loves Red Blue especially, and they just can't stop.
As a whole, I don't think it's an understatement to say that Blue has gotten by far the best cards this set so far.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean, it had arguably the best cards in the last 3 sets. Like Vision,
Yeah.
like Pete was a little bit better, but like Vision is not too far off of being like the
Fair,
best card
fair.
from set 5.
Keep
And Sail is certainly up there.
Number 1 card last set. I don't think it can be argued.
And then so far
This is
for set 7, this is certainly close.
I will say, guess I gotta get it in there. Tamatoa is also interesting in blue-green, both the conventional items build, it could help that out. As well, I'm interested in both Tamatoa and Scrooge, which nobody really cares about Scrooge. But the Oswald Storm deck, I can't help but be a little tantalized by, and that is the one deck where Scrooge could theoretically work. I tried it out a bit. It's not that crazy. It's like there's something there. There's like a little bit of magic there that makes me go like, can I make this
If you
work?
like roll dice, like if you think rolling dice once per game is not enough,
Let's roll it out.
You can do it every turn.
Listen, it activated my Yu-Gi-Oh player brain, and any deck that lets me do that, I gotta try it.
Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna play
Scrooge is
Scrooge.
here too. Might as well talk about him.
Yeah, I'm gonna play Scrooge one time, and he's gonna miss, and I'm gonna take him out and put Tala back in, and that'll be it.
That's correct,
Is
yes.
Scrooge a 2 or a 1? He feels like a 1 to me.
No, I mean
Probably
he's
a
certainly
lot.
playable, right?
no, it's playable.
Yeah.
I guess it's a 2,
Like
maybe.
you
I don't
just
know.
look at the stat line, right? Like it cannot be like 4/4/4/4, sometimes 3, sometimes gets you an item. Like when it does its thing, it's pretty good, I think. But
I mean,
it's just like the deck building restriction is just a little bit too high for me.
It's going to get better as time goes on too, right? Every set more items come out. Eventually, they're going to print other good ones.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
like
the only deck
in Blue Steel, this is conceivably free.
Yeah.
Sometime.
I was gonna ask a dumb question. Would this card be better if it costed 5?
So you could
Oh, it
sing
can
deal
sing?
with it?
Yeah.
So, assuming that you still have to exert 4 items or 5 items?
No, it would just be if literally nothing about the card changed except it costed 5 instead of 4.
Yeah.
Would it be better?
He just wants to
I
sing
mean,
wheel.
yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
For blue steel, yes. But here's the thing, right? Like, everyone wants to say, like, I'm going to get this free Scrooge McDuck. Like, okay, I've played a lot of blue steel whole new world ramp. A lot, right? It's pretty rare that you have games with 4 items out early game at one time, right? Like, what are you doing there? In order to do that and have like a relatively normal curve where you're not just like entirely losing board, you're going popsicle on turn 1. And when I say popsicle here, right, insert Fortisphere or popsicle, I don't care which, right?
Roxicle,
so popsicle on turn on turn 1, you're gonna do a turn 2 2-drop, right? So that you don't just lose the game. Turn 3, you're doing Fishbone Quill, so we're at 2 items now. You're gonna maybe hit Fishbone Quill plus another popsicle, so we're at 3 items. That's like that happens, not infrequently, but getting a 4th item down on the following turn, that's where it gets rare, right?
Not use Quill, right?
Not using Quill, exactly. So you're not ramping if you're doing that. And like just having the 4th one, like, yeah, maybe you mulligan into a hand like that, but typically you're not just keeping all those things, right? Because if you kept all those things, then you're just risking like, okay, I'm going to play this popsicle and hope I don't draw a bunch of uninkables. Like, you're just kind of hoping to high roll at that point, and like that doesn't seem like a successful maneuver for Scrooge McDuck.
Mm-hmm.
The only way to make Scrooge, I think, work realistically is going to be in an item storm deck, whether that be like the old set 4 version of Red Blue item storm we used to see that was pretty good at the time, or Workshop, or some new version like Blue Green or something like that. That's the only way it's going to work. It is theoretically very good in that kind of deck. It's just hard to know if such a deck can be good enough in this day and age. But that deck is getting interesting support between Scrooge and this Tamatoa too.
Yeah. Oh.
The ceiling is never going to be that high because, like, at the end of the day, it's just like a 4/4 that will draw a card maybe once.
And it only quests for 1.
And it only quests for 1, right? And so the longer the game goes on, the more underwhelming that is. So yeah, the ceiling's not too high, and then it has a huge deck building restriction.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Which we're getting closer and closer to item decks probably being good, but I just don't know if the item decks want this type of effect because they have to play items and they have to play threats and they have to do a bunch of other stuff. But
yeah,
who knows?
There's like, I think we're missing one more like really good item from making like a really decent item deck.
I think
I'm
Red
hoping
Blue
there's a
items
couple
is
more
going to be
items
the best
to
version.
Ooh.
I'll fire off.
You
that
think
hot
what?
take
Sorry?
and go on record.
Red Blue items?
Yeah. Well, speaking of red blue items, Sailor, do you want to turn your lights to red for us as we talk about the next card? So, as we said, we're recording this on February 13th, and earlier today, what I would consider probably one of the top cards of the set, I don't know if I'd go as far as just call it a 4, like I don't think it's the best card in the game, but it's kind of terrifying with how good red blue is, and with how good Sisu as a whole as a card is, and this is an inkable item that helps with that card. So Sapphire Coil is a 2-cost item. During your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, you may give chosen character -2 strength this turn. Notice I didn't say this occurs only once per turn. Notice how I didn't say that this effect only occurs once. Because if you have 2 Sapphire Coils in, as an example, and you ink once, you're giving 2 things -2, or 1 thing -4, which is extremely important to note because of a card like because of the 3-cost Little Sisu. And on top of that, heaven forbid you're inking multiple things per turn, you know what blue is known for. Now all of a sudden you can, if you have 2 of these in play, yeah, like this
-8 across multiple bodies.
This card's nuts.
And without investing mana, I think like is really the thing. Without investing any ink, would I have to? Well, so these are the upsides, right? Like you make all the Sisus even better, which they were already pretty good. it's inkable, right? So it doesn't restrict you in your, because that's always what we had to do, was to jungle with the number of ice blocks and all these Sisus where they're all uninkables, right? And so you also wanted some number of be prepared, because those Sisus don't deal with big things, right? But now suddenly it seems like all these problems are just washed away by this being inkable, and also like potentially making small Sisu take out 5 power characters. Like,
yeah.
And maybe like sharks. Like, like it's not inconceivable for small Sisu to take out sharks now.
Well,
right?
this also makes it so Medusa can take out sharks now too as well. Like that's another.
Yeah, very easily, right? Like just by playing like a normal curve of what you want to do with that deck. What I want to say on the opposite side is that it's very awkward on the curve. So I think what people are like envisioning, they don't understand that if they do that, then they don't ramp, right? And so like I think like I don't think this kills aggro deck like as quickly as it does right now, because the aggro cards are basically already very low in power already, right? And so like this doesn't really change anything, and even like costs more, so it's actually worse than Ice Block, I think, for like the early 3 or 4 turns.
I will say that being able to turn 2 Coil, turn 3 Quill, turn 4 Medusa kill your shark, because if they ramped and killed a shark, is like a legitimate curve as well, though. And it's extremely good. I think it's extremely good.
Yeah, but like, you're talking about 2 of the same cards, like in your opening hand. Like that's like very, like that's not too, you need
Coil,
2 copies, right?
No, Coil, Quill, Medusa.
Oh, Coil, Quill. Sorry, I heard Coil.
Oh, no, sorry.
I thought you meant Coil into Sail into Coil. I thought
no,
that's what you meant.
sorry, I meant Coil into
because that would
Quill
also work, by the way.
Yes. Oh, yeah, well, that would also work.
Oh no, you wouldn't have enough ink for Medusa on the following turn, but
no.
So I think it has some restriction on like how to play the curve, and I think it's gonna be in a weird spot where you'll need to keep inking for it to work in the later stages of the game, where as Ice Block you could always use even if you didn't want to ink, right? And so there's always like this mid to late game positions where, like when we were playing Chicha, for example, something that I have in mind is that we were like, it was really hard to get value out of Chicha because we didn't want to ink at certain spots, right? And certainly not double ink. And I think this card's like leans you into keep inking every turn, which sometimes is not what you want to do, right? Because you want to keep on your resources. So it's gonna make the deck rely on card draw even more.
The inking problem is noteworthy again.
To ink, because if you only rely on like normal Quill, like Quill is just gonna deplete your hand, right? Very, very fast. And so yes, it's gonna be like a huge burst of power when you'll be able to use the coil on the first few activations of Quill, but then then you're going to be empty-ended and you're going to rely on Hiram quite extensively after that point. So I think it's a very, very interesting card in terms on the deck building choices and how you're going to build your curve, because it's certainly something different than what we used to do, like the good old 2-4-5 or 2-4-6, right? That you've been used to, like. This card, it doesn't fit into that curve. But of course, you could, on the draw, you could go Coil into Sisu or Brawl, into Sail plus another Sisu or Brawl, into a 6-drop, right? Like Medusa.
Yeah.
And that is very, 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 very good curve, or shark.
I did want to say that the hand problem they need to ink is somewhat nerfy into discard, and I suppose Greensteel specifically, just because you might be in a position where you top deck a big Sisu and you don't have the means to coil it as well, and that could be a downside there too.
Yeah. But the other thing to keep in mind is, I think it's exactly what Dave said, is that sometimes you just want to reduce their strength so you can Maui multiple things and keep the Maui alive. Like, that's like the hard removal with Medusa or Sisu's is one thing, but just reducing their strength so you can trade better is also just fantastic.
This card's got me pretty hot today. I think this is like Bucky level toxic bad for the game.
Damn.
Like,
Dang.
Now, is it because of this or is it because of Sisu?
oh, it's obviously the combination of it, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that card is bad if we don't have any brawls or Sisus or Medusas.
And well, I just think you play all 16. And my second hot take is I think this is plan A and ramping on 2 is plan B now.
It might be.
Right? And like,
Yeah, possibly. Not on the play. Never.
but, well,
right?
yeah, sure. Maybe, right? So if you're on the play, listen to this, right? You're on the play. You play Coil on turn 2. Your opponent plays Smee. You ink, you play Sisu, kill the Smee. They're like, oh, that sucks. Ink played Lawrence. You're like, okay, ink, brawl. Right? And like, the game's over on the spot. Your opponents, you can't win. Like, the Cinderella that they played on turn 1 will have to count to 20 because every card they play for the rest of the game dies on the spot because of this stupid Coil. And so the reason why I think this is for sure why I think the items version is going to be the best version of Red Blue. But like, you could just mitigate a lot of problems by playing workshops again. Like even in the mirror, workshop is you just have 8 Hirams, right? We remember all the way back to set 3, the workshop version dominated the classic Red Blue version of the deck.
Yes, it was.
And I lost a match in the set championships in set 6 like a month ago because one of my good friends at my local store showed up with his set 4 Red Blue items deck. Doesn't have no set 5 cards, no set 6 cards, just set 4 Red Blue items showed up, and I was playing Red Blue like a sailor version, and I just got destroyed. My opponent was like Popsicle, pay 3, draw 4. Next turn, Popsicle, pay 3, draw 4, ink 4 cards with my quills. And I'm just like sitting there with a shark and playing. It's like, all right, I guess I'll beep it and then, play Dime and Tamatoa and you're dead.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the pieces to keep in mind is exactly like you just said, is that with Maurice's workshop, like top decking these Sapphire Coils, 3 mana Popsicles that have an effect.
And
I have one caveat to that, I want to say, is that the item deck was never able to go on and be tier 0 because there's 8 to it, potentially. Yeah. And the reason why the Sisu on Ice deck was able to sustain being tier 0 is that it's not easily targeted outside of just going under it.
Oh, sure. But it also just got the Tamatoa that we talked about. So, like, you're just going to hand it out, and I'll be like, all right, I'll just pick up my...
Yes.
Put them in my next...
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yes. So I think the Tamatoa is really, like... because, like, Benja or, like, your Flatten, what... I don't remember what... Flatten, whatever that card is. Like... against like workshops and stuff would be devastating if you didn't have a quick tempo positive way of retrieving those back.
Yeah.
And like that's going to the extreme and like trying to use the Sapphire Coil as like more than just an ink or this like turn 2 play and using workshops to try and draw out of it. But even if you don't do that, like this just lets Queen of Hearts kill a Smee. And like not trade with it, just run into
Take it out.
And it's still there, right? Like
pretty crazy.
Or Tala takes out Goats now. People Goats was like Red Purple's one of their premier plays. There were certainly like unequal cards in the Ruby Sapphire matchup, and now just like Tala just sits there and it's like, all right, now you have to pick that one up too. Or else I'm just
I gotta get in there that it is also of interest beyond just red, although everyone's going to hate it the most in red. But it's also going to be quite applicable in blue-green, which I know is just a roguey deck kind of right now, but the ability to have Muses bounce anything on the board, the ability to have Kit bounce anything you play on turn 3 potentially, Under the Sea just being a lot better is also a bit noteworthy there.
Like, why isn't this Amber? Nobody would
Yeah,
care.
well, that's just it.
would-
Like, if you like that's kind of a crazy part to me is like how bad the Amber cards have been this set again. Like, I don't understand how Amber is not allowed to have good cards, and Sapphire in 2 days got better cards than Amber has in like 4 or 5 sets.
This could've
Presumably
been
this
an
is a
Amber
cycle,
card.
right? We saw 3 of them. We haven't seen the Amber one
Yes.
yet. We saw Emerald, Amethyst, and then the Sapphire Coil. Surely there's an Amber one hiding in there. For sure, it's going to be like whenever you ink, heal a character of yours for 1.
Oh, 100%.
They could have made it an Amber card, have the attack gain last to the end of the turn because and the next turn because the Amber thing, and it would have been fine. Nobody would be mad. We'd consider it, but like no, I think of the blue.
And the egregious part about this is the other 2, the Emerald and Amethyst ones, cost 3 and are uninkable.
It's crazy.
And
Like,
somehow
especially
this
the
one-
Amethyst one is like so bad, and they felt it had to be uninkable. Like the green one is actually kind of sneaky good, give something evasive. Like okay, that's pretty powerful to the end of the next turn. Like that's not. I can understand the reasoning in there. The Amethyst one, I'm just like, why remove 1 heal counter? Ooh.
Yeah, this
I don't
is
think we'll make it
The,
that good.
the Amethyst one, the fact that the Amethyst one is even in the same cycle as this one is egregious. Like it's not even, they're not even in the same tier. They're not even in playing the same game.
It feels to me like the boss was like we call Amber and Amethyst, they both start with A, right? And we call them like AS, like Amber Steel and Amethyst Steel. The boss was like, make the AM coil cost 3 and be uninkable, and the intern that was there for 3 months like just picked the wrong one and like made the purple one uninkable 3 cost and left this one and like it just like skated through. It just when the red blue deck does its thing and it just I was arguing with somebody about this. They're like, well, you skip ramp, and it's like, yeah, but you play Dragonfire turn 3 through 8 every turn. With like, what are you ramping for? You just get the
Conspiracy
like, the
theory.
fact that it's -2, like even like,
Could've
like
been -1.
everything about it.
Conspiracy theory, they hate Steel Song specifically. They just hate Steel Song. They never want to give Steel Song anything, and every decision is based on that.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna play your Gantu on turn 5 or whatever, and they're just gonna be like, ink, sail, ink, Sisu, and Gantu. You just have to pick it up and put in a trash can, and like.
Justin, I'm sorry, man. We don't like Gantu anymore.
I'm in shambles over here.
But then the crazy thing is that same line kills like the 8-cost Tamatoa.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit, it does. Oh gosh. Oh damn.
It's crazy.
Ward. You have Ward, Justin. Don't
Yes.
forget.
Oh yeah.
Ward against
Oh
him.
yeah.
So much war.
No,
Anything I do next set will be involving Alice.
Yeah, that poor Alice is going to be like Atlas holding up the world, trying to keep everybody alive.
Don't kill my things.
Okay, so does this card ruin the game? Like how bad is it? Because
It's not
we're
gonna ruin
getting
the
some
game,
like
but
hot
it's-
takes out there.
3 people
I don't-
texted me
I don't
today
think
and said they're George level dooming.
Oh, George. I will be honest, as soon as I saw this, I was like, wow, this, like, okay, so red-blue is just the best deck in the game again next set, right? Like, this is crazy.
Well, I don't know.
Based on what we've
Consider
There's
that
still a lot of
the
cards, still, right?
Of course there is, but this is, like, just so
I
easily
know.
inserted into such a good strategy already.
seen. We're more than halfway through the set. I don't know what can save us from the red blue menace.
Well, let's talk about what I consider my favorite card of the set, and what I... Oh, not this one.
No,
I
we're
love
talking about
this.
this one.
Yeah, let's go.
We're talking about
Let's
killing
go.
red blue, right?
We're gonna do
I don't
it.
want to...
Isn't this what
Ignore
everyone
the
says?
fact
We're talking about killing red blue, and we're talking about quitting. Why not start with this?
This card
do it.
might save us all. Like,
No, wait.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
hold on. So
you
after
remember in
today's
set 2, like the green steel Bucky deck that just really beat up on red purple, but at least in my opinion didn't really do well against anything else. But
Yeah.
like,
I'll train
it
blue.
kept the format a little bit interesting because it created this like, three-way
dynamic.
triangle. This is the
This card.
This is the part of the triangle. You just
against anything but red blue is the problem.
Hey,
I'm down.
I want to hear Justin's take, and then for those people that are listening, I want to actually read the card that we're talking about. Although I think they might have guessed by now.
Okay, so we're looking at Ink Geyser, right? So I'll just get that out there. If red blue's not even worried about ramping anymore, right? Like based off of what has been spoiled today. And all they want to do is play this ink or this coil and just dragonfire everything you play from then on. Does red blue even care about Ink Geyser now? Like if that's the way that red blue goes, right? Like at that point, Ink Geyser is not even killing red blue because it's just like, yeah, cool. Now I get more triggers from my coil.
I feel like I
certainly small Sisu and Hiram don't care about Geyser. Like they never cared and they never will. Like it's really the Maleficents, the big Toas, and the big Sisus were. But if you're playing more small Sisu, well, guess what? Can cost 6 instead of 8.
Yeah.
real
Especially if they're planning to go back to Fishbone, right? Doesn't it make it like
that's a big one if they're on Fishbone or not.
So Ink Geyser, again, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. So it's a 3-cost uninkable action. Each player exerts all the cards in their inkwell. Then each player with more than 3 cards in their inkwell returns cards at random from their inkwell to their hand until they have 3 in their inkwell. It is blue-green. Now, one thing to keep in mind with a couple of the things that we've talked about. So some of the play patterns I've seen for this card are Ink Geysering and then playing Sail, then playing Ink Geyser, picking up your ink, and then being able to ink twice. I've seen Ink Geyser play your fish, or you use your Fishbone Quill and then ink afterwards, because this isn't like Magic where you can pre-tap your lands, Upheaval or Armageddon or whatever, and then you have mana to use. Lorcana doesn't work that way, where you can't like float resources and then bounce lands to hand or bounce ink to hand.
The biggest difference that I haven't seen people talking is that we don't have Moxes and Soul Rings. Like this is always gonna be like the same for both players. Whereas
we have Lantern.
Not in blue-green.
But in the wrong color.
Doesn't work. And so like of course if we had Moxes and Soul Ring, that card would be broken in half, right? But like it's I think it's too equal on both sides, and so I think, like, I don't know, maybe Justin will enlighten us, because I think he tried to play like a blue-green Kiwi deck, so maybe that would fit into this, but like I don't see how like a deck that wants to ramp wants to reset. Like I don't get it.
Or you want to get
aggro
and play
in
first,
perpetuity going to be called Kiwi decks
and then
forever.
and then nuke the inkwell.
Sorry, what did you say, Dave?
What is it, Dave?
You want to get like Clarabelle or the new Tamatoa or something in play, and then Ink Geyser.
Like you get ahead and then you say you can't be me, you can't see me.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
It's not going to happen, but that's what you want.
Yeah. Like you could also like do like a 2-turn kind of bend play, right? Like if you're playing Fishbone and like ink for turn and then do it again the next turn. So like there's little things. I think the best like thing I've seen with this is like just having Prince John's Mirror on board.
Yeah. At least it's the same color, other like when I was talking about Lantern.
Yeah.
And so much
thought of
do
like
nothing.
there's a thought of like doing like
nothing.
Prince John Basil discard with this, which didn't emerge last set, but maybe Geyser makes it more worth it.
I think Geyser would be more egregious if it was inkable. The fact that it's uninkable, like I know, like of course every card would be better if it was inkable. Of course every card would be better if it quested for more.
But a
but
tech
like
card like that is very crucial, like
exactly,
because it basically doesn't do anything versus anything that plays to the board and stuff that's 5, right? Like they're gonna go back to 4, and then they're gonna play 1 or 2 things, and you're like, I just spent a turn and all my ink, right? to
and like yes, you
not
can
do
TPO
anything.
this. And like, yes, you can TPO this, sure, but you're gonna feel real dumb when they go turn 1 Daisy, turn 2 Piglet, turn 3 Lawrence, and you're looking at Ink Geyser in your hand. Like, congratulations, you lost the game. So, but no, the card I actually wanted to talk about. Sorry, Sorry, go ahead, Sailor.
No, go ahead. I think there might be other people that have something to say about it.
Does anyone want to talk about Ink Geyser? Because I actually want to talk about a good card.
Good card.
I think it has potential,
cool.
and it'll be interesting to brew with it. But it's going to take a lot of testing to figure out.
Nah, it's solved.
Okay. Well, I want to talk about a card before I have to hop off because I have to head over to Frisbee. But the card that I'm the most excited for, by far, and I still think is one of the best cards in the set, and again, we're very early, I get that, is the Purple Steel Cobra. I think is it literally called Giant Cobra?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay, so it's Giant Cobra. It's a 3-cost inkable Purple Steel card. 4/4 quest for 1 with Vanish. So Vanish is the new mechanic in the set. When an opponent chooses this character for an action, banish the character, so banish the Giant Cobra. So that's why it's overstated for its low ink cost. When you play this character, you may choose and discard a card to gain 2 lore. So this is everything Purple Steel wants in a card. It is high statted, it is low cost, and it's burn. It's the ability to go, oh, I drew 2 docks this game, I'm going to discard 1 to gain 2 lore. Oh, I have this extra Calhoun, I'm going to discard a card and gain 2 lore. I think this card is extremely strong and may prompt people into playing different cards in their deck to make sure they have efficient removal to kill this.
Does it matter that they need to kill it? I just think that it already did what it did.
Yeah, but that's another reason why this card is so good, is that the fact that it's like, even if they do have a removal spell for it, you got 2 lore off of it is very good. But if they don't, like especially against an aggro, like the fact that this can just kill Daisy on its own is huge. The fact that this can kill Smee and live is huge. The fact that it can trade into Lawrence also huge. Like, it's being a 4/4 is just a big deal.
Yeah, it slots like very well into like the Dog Purple Steel, like you already said, right? It's like,
yeah,
I don't know, it was like made just for it, right?
Yeah.
What I like about it is there's now deck building decisions about whether you want Lawrence or you want the White Rose or you want the Cobra. All could be right depending on what you're trying to beat.
I feel like it'll probably overpower. Well, I feel like Lawrence is going to get kicked out of Purple Steel because of this card, and you probably run both lists in White Rose and guess go more for burn.
Yeah. But for all, the body, I mean, it's a great defensive tool and it's a great finishing the game tool. There's a lot to like about this card, but mostly I just want like my deck building. I want to have options in deck building, and like for sure, Purple Steel in the 3-cost spot is like, plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess like another note is like this is also an illusion, so that is a new archetype. So we'll see how it goes. If they get any more good stuff. Oh, bye, Dylan.
Yeah.
But yeah, because the first illusion we saw was Iago, which was just like a big overstated guy, right? And then we got this, I believe, and then Rajah. And Rajah was just another 2-cost 3/3.
Yep.
So sort of overstated dude. So that's like the going theme for the illusions, but this one has like a pretty good effect. So we'll have to see if they get any more like this to actually push them.
I think Rajah is too mid.
Yeah.
It doesn't do enough against the control decks, and we don't have that many good options on 2, so I think that's okay. But it's just like not doing anything great either.
It's an option maybe for Red Purple and the Red Purple players who are always saying, I don't want to play Flynn anymore, it's so bad for some reason. They could play Rajah now, I guess.
I'm pretty happy with Rajah.
I think 3/3s on turn 2 are quite strong. Like, yeah, it doesn't quest for 2, but just the level of board presence it gives is quite strong.
It's a decent option. I'm not convinced by it either, but you could justify it. Maybe it's like Dave said, it kind of gives deck building options, which is nice.
It's the curse of the purple decks, right? It's like they just don't get a good 2-drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't care because they have 12 good 1-drops.
Yeah,
right.
Well, that's right. But that's what
thing.
most of the purple players are doing these days, are just skipping 2 to play more
3-1s.
play more one drops.
It's better.
Too.
It's still better.
And that's probably better.
It is better, right? Because you're never. I mean, I guess like the 3-3 is okay because you're never losing the card, except for maybe Storm.
Yeah,
but you were losing the card to Storm.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Rajah dies, sure, but so did every other 2-drop, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Except Snake, which is solo
before
tempo.
turn 3 dies to Storm, like
yeah.
Except for Daisy.
I guess like here I'll bring up this one that I thought was pretty interesting. It was Bagheera.
Yeah.
New steel card, 5 cost, 4/3, bodyguard, quest for 2, and then when he's banished on your opponent's turn, deal 2 to all their characters.
Yeah. It's an interesting card right there.
It's made for you. Yes,
Off, Justin.
So, this card is, I find it very interesting. There's a lot of people trying to figure out, like, where does it fit? But it's definitely a playable steel legendary, which means it's going to cost, like, $40 day one. Just, fair play. So, when you think about this from, like, a blue steel perspective, which is my perspective always, if I'm looking at this from the ramp version, I think this is a little bit weird. If you're on a whole new world ramp, it's kind of interesting because people don't really want to kill it. Like, let's say you're against Amber Steel, right? They don't really want to kill it and deal 2 to all their stuff. Maybe they do if they have Rapunzel ready to go, but oftentimes it's not great for them. So, like, sometimes it'll disincentivize them of trying to get rid of it, and then it leaves you with a singer. But the weird thing is, like, if you don't have anything relevant to sing with him at the time, it's kind of like, okay, well, they're not going to purposefully kill him then. So now I'm just playing this, like, 4/3 with Bodyguard that quests for 2. And I don't, like, as the ramp player, maybe I don't have the pressure to force them to kill it. So I think it's going to be an interesting card to see how it plays out in ramp blue steel. But in what's what we've called Kiwi birds blue steel, I think this is fantastic. I think this card is an A+. I think it's going to slot right in as, like, this is a card I want to have. Now, this was all of my thoughts were sort of formulated before Red Blue could -2 strength on demand. So take that with a grain of salt. But the idea of, like, okay, he is an ally. I can throw down, like, Maid Marian into him. He's going to deal, like, and I'm actually putting board pressure on with that style of deck, right? Or similar, like, aggressive Amber Steel decks, right? Like Diggy Diggy Hole, or something more like Boomy's style Amber Steel, just like those aggressive green steel decks, all of those sorts of things where you're putting more pressure on the board, right? That's going to force your opponent to deal with Bagheera. And then the damage effect actually comes into play here and becomes relevant. So this is going to be a very swingy card for the more aggressive steel decks, of which there's quite a number of them now.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of different ones out there now, like purple steel, amber steel, blue steel. Like you can probably name off each color combination except red steel of an aggro deck. So I think you can find a home in most of them too.
Yeah.
So your deck is already quite heavy on 5-drops. So which one are you going to cut to squeeze?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. When I'm looking at this, there's the options are basically like, okay, if Gaunt2 isn't good enough anymore because Red Blue just kills it anyways, right? Like, that was the whole point of it. Then maybe we look at Bagheera to shore up and just make the other steel matchups really strong. Like, that's one option. Or if for whatever reason Coil doesn't catch on in Red Blue, let's say, right? Maybe I look at taking out Robin Hood. Robin Hood was a card that was very good into the steel matchups, but very bad into Red Blue. You never want to shift a Robin Hood into an ice block, right? Like, that's asking for trouble. And so if Coil doesn't take off, maybe I take out the Robin Hood package. I throw in Bagheera, and now I've got 2 different 5-drops that have 4 strength and quest for multiple lore. So, like, depends a little bit on how the meta shapes up, but there's definitely spots for him in the deck that I'll be looking at.
I don't know. It's a good card. I don't know if it's a great card, but I do love the design. I think it's one of the best designs in the set so far, if not the best, just as far as a good card that's really interesting, that creates some interesting dynamic gameplay potentially, and that feels good to pull and out of a pack as well. I just love the design on this thing.
Yeah, I have I think where I like this over other of these other options is that both Maui and Sharks will go 1-for-1 on it.
Unfortunately, Tala too.
Yeah, that's the issue. But you're probably just not playing it into a single Tala board, right?
Yeah. I mean,
then Tala gets into this, or you don't put it in bodyguard, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then Maui is cast after having dealt with the Bagheera, and then you.
That's an example of where Chempo would be better, right? You play this as your bodyguard to protect your board, and then Tala runs into it. The effect does nothing, and then Maui comes out and runs over whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, Shampoo didn't was worse into Shark, so there's trade-offs, right?
Yeah, and then I guess with the direction that you might go, you might be playing Maid Marian, or even having a Cogsworth first and then this, but there are some ways to get around the lone Tala holding the line. So I mean,
Shield of Arendelle.
Yeah.
So funny to think about this grandma being the sole defender.
Hold the line.
I'm a little nervous about Bagheera because it's pretty bad on the draw.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a Bagheera mirror match, you both are playing aggro steel variant decks, he's pretty bad.
So, yes and no. I do agree with you in that, if you ever fall behind enough against Amber Seal or Emerald Seal aggressive decks, or even in the Blue Seal or Purple Seal, right? They don't have to challenge. But most games, from what I've seen, at least with the Blue Seal aggressive, there is a lot of board trading that happens. And so if you lay down this guy on turn 5, it's a similar level of deterrent as to throwing down a Cogsworth on turn 5, to where all of a sudden I have flipped what happens on the board, and trading becomes very, very awkward. And so these grindy steel aggressive mirrors, I think he's going to have a major impact there. Now, shout out to my deck where if my opponent plays Bagheera, I can go Cogsworth on turn 5 and try and negate some of those issues.
Yeah.
At least the body is serviceable to do trades, right? It's not nothing like Cogsworth.
Yeah.
You take that back.
Because
Cogsworth pretty bad at making trades.
Because bodyguards are usually historically weaker strength, right? Higher butt.
Yeah, exactly.
Most are.
There is another interesting bodyguard in this set.
Oh, is it the amber one?
Now that you mentioned it.
Don't say it, Dave.
I don't know that it's good enough, but it's the 0/5 for 2 that's uninkable in amber.
Yes.
That is interesting.
I love that card. It seems neat.
I don't like that it's inkable. Uninkable, rather.
Yeah, but what's interesting, so not it's, obviously the text on it is it's this defensive tool to protect your board. But what's interesting, interesting thing about it is this offensively can set up Rapunzel's as well. You could, challenging for 0 is really bad. I get that. You'd much rather do other stuff with it. But these Rapunzel mirrors have always been kind of based around the number 4. And Lawrence is taking out Daisy, or Daisy is challenging the 3 so that you get the Rapunzels. And this kind of swings the dynamic a little bit where this can...
Yeah. I
put more
always
damage
thought about like how would I like to have the first Rapunzel to get value out of the second, and this does that in a much cleaner curve, right?
Yeah.
The theoretical curve of like 1 drop, 2 drop, this plus 1 drop could also be pretty strong. Usually they want to play a bodyguard on turn 3. This can fill that role and also let you play a 1 drop. It's maybe optimistic because of how many uninkables could be involved in that, but it could be very strong.
Yeah.
Yes.
It does think that it's uninkable, but any amber or emerald card that costs 2 is also worth noting because of the lady picks up 1 and 2 cost cards. And this is just like another option of an interesting defensive tool that
And the other thing about like
she's also uninkable, but
yeah.
It'll be fine. We'll play.
Like, just like a 24 uninkable aggro deck. Like,
Let's go.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you can do it.
Yeah.
Stops at 5.
Yeah,
you might as well play 0 to 0
anyway. Yeah, so. Cheers. Put some Diablos in there. Now you can ink the 5.
And I think one other card that we should probably talk about. I really like this card.
Oh, my boy.
Interesting.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Card Soldiers. 1 cost 1/2, and then if there's a damaged character on board, it gets +2 strength.
Yeah, so we live in a world where like the purple 1-drops are insanely good, and basically all the other 1-drops besides Cindy are like kind of bad. And there's a lot of the style effect where like they're a 1/2 or a 0/2 like for Rafiki, but then become a 3/2 when the certain conditions are met. Like Captain Hook was the first one. Rafiki came along. The Moana from the last set like never really took off because it can't challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was a better tool. But I think this card is so close. So for those who don't know, right, it's a 1/2 for 1 that's inkable in red. But if there's any damaged character on the field, so it could be yours or your opponent's, it becomes a 3/2. And I just dream of like a card that costs 2 that comes into play and says like put a damage counter on or like deal damage.
I mean that exists. I mean there's Gothel. Curving Gothel's
right. So Gothel is the first one, and it's in red. So like that combo, and like the 1 cost Moana also works as well, right? Like both of those 2 cards are purely in red and turn this on, but like I don't know, maybe in red steel or something. Like a 2 cost uninkable red steel card that like comes into play and deals 1 damage to something. And then this kills Daisy, right? And it stays a 3/2 because then it has damage on itself.
That'd be good.
So I don't know that this card ever takes off, like if the certain conditions are ever right, and for sure, like something like red purple is just never gonna. It's just the purple right there.
But there's the red purple damage counter deck you can do.
Yeah.
With the amethyst coils, right?
Yeah.
And Lorcana's kind of this big snowbally game where like you're not really playing for the baseball term Moneyball, where like you're trying to extract the most value out of where the minimum resources, where the sum of the parts are better than they are individually. We don't really play that style of Lorcana when like we're slamming sharks on turn 4 or whatever. But I do think this card is certainly playable if we get a few more tools. But even now in just a mono red deck, it's got enough to curve this.
Yeah, like I think it's definitely not unplayable, and it's not a bad card. Like you said, just needs a bit more, right? Like, also, I'm guessing this is mainly support for like the red-green damage stuff they're pushing. So
yeah,
that's probably why it's included now in this set.
I want to believe in red-green damage.
I mean, the Queen of Hearts is kind of interesting. It's got a few cards, right? So
the Queen of Hearts, I think, is really cool. If we want to flash that one up too, while we're like jumping.
She's one of the cooler, like, definitely one of the cooler double link cards, and like really intriguing.
Let me find it. But I'm really high on it. Like I really like cards with like effects like this.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like this is such a cool card. Even if it's not good, I do love it regardless. Also, the art's sick.
Yeah. It's a 5 cost uninkable, 2/6, Queen of Hearts, shift 3. quest for 2, and whenever another character is played, for both you or your opponent, put a damage counter on them. So this kind of essentially locks out anything with one health, 1 willpower.
Yep.
So no Chernobyls, no Diablo, little Diablo, purple Diablo. I mean, there's too many.
You can get,
you can play it, but it's just like a cycle, right? But
if you can get 2 of these out, that gets really wild in terms of locking out any 2 health cards.
They both get scooped up
they
by
do
one
stack,
big
yeah.
Sisu.
Yeah.
This card is less playable today than it was yesterday when it got revealed.
It was never gonna be hard to take this out.
I mean, it was always probable.
Coil
So
changes
one thing I do want to mention, and so there's another green card. It's in German, so I don't actually know its name, but it's the 4-cost uninkable 3/3 that quest for 2, and damaged characters can't challenge your stuff.
It's King of Hearts. Yeah.
King of Hearts. Yeah. So obviously there's a little combo going on there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But like Queen of Hearts plus King of Hearts does lock down the shark.
Yeah.
Yep.
In like if people start going light on well, they're never going to go light on Sisus and red decks. Like if they start cutting Beaver cards and stuff like that.
It does turn off challenging entirely though, which is like tantalizing.
It also kills small Sisu, right? Even if it takes it out,
True.
Gets to stick.
Yeah, no, it would kill small Sisu, which isn't nothing.
I mean, I certainly think there are decks that will struggle against something like this, especially if you're on the play and you like curve into it on turn 3. Very
I
powerful.
feel like we've been waiting for a card like this that can turn on all those weird green damage cards that never had a home. Like now you can take another look at them and see like, okay, maybe something like Helga could work to deal damage to those 3 damage when it quests. That's crazy.
So I think this cuts too much, right? Like I think like if you play this on curve at 5 ink without ramping, like you're not contesting the board with that. And most likely they already have a board, so like it doesn't really do anything. So I think like it's really only very good on 3. Or if you were able to deal with the early board and then you slam this and everything they draw off the top is just much worse. So it comes down to what does it where can it shift, right? And so obviously the first answer is the red one, the Rush Queen of Hearts 2/2 from set 2. And then there's another one in set 2 that was played a little bit a while back, which is a 1/2 that quests for 2.
Mm-hmm.
And when you play this, you can deal 1 damage to 2s and damage opposing character, which was an uninkable 2 cost.
One thing
which is funny. They've put like a queen of the shift targets like 5 sets before making the shift.
The other Queen of Hearts is good on the draw though. The red one.
Yes,
you could play them both together, and if you're on the play, you have this one, and if you're on the draw, you have
the shift option.
The other one.
There's also everybody's favorite shift target, Morph.
That too.
Yeah.
Red-green has a lot of good floodborns that you could potentially play.
Red and
red and
green have a ton.
It has like Tremaine, right?
Yeah, Tremaine, Gothel.
Tremaine on Morph. It's
good.
Sick.
Mm-hmm. There's quite a few. Like you can play around with red green quite a bit. Like it's probably still not there yet, but it's definitely getting a lot of tools.
I have one last card I'd like to talk about.
Sure. Yeah, we can do this last one.
The blue-purple Elsa.
Yes, I want to talk about that one too.
I think I'm the only one that's remotely okay with it, and everybody else is like, this card sucks, and it's worse than...
Oh, okay.
It's worse than Ursula.
I think that.
It's worse than, the...
Big Elsa, the 8 drop.
Elsa.
Okay, let's hear your take.
I don't know that the tools are available for this deck to ever take off. But like a lot of people are like, this is just worse than the bigger Elsa. But like when cards come out, rather than like comparing them to what already exists, and like it's like what this does different. This shifts on 4. Which means in a blue deck, if we get a 1-cost Elsa, this can come out on turn 3. And it trades with Maui and it exerts stuff, which like in purple decks with crabs and foxes, certainly you can make use of that. and it trades with both of the Mauis. It quests for 2, which is a lot, and I think it's pretty rare for cards to shift for 3 less than their actual cost. So like I feel like those have almost always been playable. Like Robin Hood's the one that jumps out to my mind, and Queen of the Amber Queen that like shift. It's a 5 cost but shifts for 2 and Tim's Wheel. It's a pretty steep discount on this card.
I mean, the cost obviously is that it costs you a card, like as it always is in the shift. But how Blurple can deal with like a -1 on turn 3, where they already super ramped on 2 into like. So I feel like it depletes their end quite quickly.
Maybe. I mean, what if we get a 7 cost blue purple song that does something pretty cool?
Well, that'd be nice.
That
like,
be
but
really-
I mean,
the
right,
issue
so
is
like,
like
Amber Steel is really the only singing color, but this has a lot of potential to sing something. I don't know that it exists today. Second star on the whatever is the it's the currently available, or like dig a little deeper.
Dig a
Does
little
this seem
deeper is
dig a
one
little
way.
deeper? I don't even know. What's that
No,
card?
I mean, one more.
it's an 8.
It's 8.
I
Unfortunately.
mean, with Tipo, it can.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still thinking about like if there would be a 1 cost.
That's the
Elsa.
thing.
Yeah,
Like,
That's
the
like
big
the
thing.
prerequisite for all of that.
we technically have shift targets for this already with like a 3-drop Elsa from set 1.
I don't
which
think
makes me
those are
worried.
very, like this needs something that works
yeah.
with Sail and with Tipo.
I agree with you, but the issue is that means they might not actually print a 1-drop Elsa. At which point, this card can't do much of anything.
At 7, it's absolutely
Garbage.
garbage.
Yeah.
And I want to rant a bit about this. The design of this, maybe to a lesser extent, and a lot of these dual ink cards are disappointing to me because it feels like they're not pushing the envelope enough for no good reason from a design perspective. Dual ink should mean, and they acknowledge this, I think, in one of their early reveals, you can print stuff that's more powerful because it's in more limited deck types. It's not going to be in like every deck out there. It shouldn't work with them too much if it's too powerful. It's perfectly reasonable to have higher power level cards in these ink colors with the dual ink restriction, but they're not taking advantage of that. They're still kind of holding themselves back needlessly. If Ursula as a 7-drop, who has a very similar effect, is inkable, why does this have to be uninkable? There's all kinds of other examples in the dual ink cards so far where it feels like Ravensburger too often holds themselves back on cards needlessly. I want cards to be good on their own terms, whether or not they're meta viable. And I think a huge reason why packs can feel bad to open, and a huge issue of card design in sets sometimes, is just they're making cards far weaker than they need to be, where they're not even like remotely playable. And it sucks, especially for all these dual ink cards that have such exciting design space potential.
I just think sets 2 and 4 have their thumb on Lorcana, and like as long as those are around, like I think this card could be good, but like not in the context of like min package.
For sure.
You're just not playing a purple deck and getting away from that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And, like,
I agree. Like dual color cards should be like really good.
Well,
Like-
my issue with that, and like just, I don't know that all the dual color cards are supposed to be more powerful. I think they are supposed to
not all.
signal something. And this is like making a frozen deck, so like I'm kind of okay with that. And the reason why I'm concerned about people saying like the dual color card should be more powerful is like then it just forces the whole color combination into whatever those powerful, dual color cards are. Whereas like you're just playing a strictly worse deck if you're not playing.
Right.
So like,
Like
if this cost 6 and was inkable and shifted for 3, every blue purple deck is just forced to put 4 in.
I feel like you can say that about any powerful card. Like every blue deck plays Sail now, basically, because it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I
powerful.
mean that card's too good. Right? For sure.
Yeah, certainly is one of the most powerful cards in
I
the
mean,
game.
if you graphed every card, on a power level from, from 1 to 10, the game certainly has outliers that are like 11 or 12s out of 10 on the power scale. Right? Hiram's that way, Sail's that way, Fox is that way, Maui's that way. Rabbit's that way. Like, they're just...
Rabbit,
You got to get him out,
Cindy.
Yeah, Cindy and Let the Storm Rage on.
Yeah,
like,
Cindy
the
on
tandem
one
is
that way.
And that is an issue with design, certainly, when everybody's forced to play a super powerful card like that. I can appreciate that, and it's better to have more flexibility, I guess. But I feel like you could edge a little bit more on the dual power card. I mean,
Cindy Let the Storm Rage on is like actually a perfect example of what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, those two cards are like basically only playable together, and the Amber Steel color combination revolves around them. And like, even the Mufasa decks are playing Cindy Let the Storm Rage on.
It's true.
Yeah,
right? Like, you just can't play Amber and Steel together without putting those 8 cards in your deck. And so if you had powerful dual color cards, every single deck would look just like that.
Yeah.
And like, I think we want to get away from that rather than leaning into that.
Yeah, when I said like powerful dual color cards, like, I didn't mean like broken either, but I just think like better than this. You know?
And I feel like most have not even been at the like playable level for the most part.
Yeah. Like this, like Dave was saying, like this could be playable. Like if we did get like a Goon Elsa, then yeah, this is gonna be like pretty crazy.
You're still not playing it, but it could be.
But yeah.
if you ban the purple 1-drops,
yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, it's the Goon Elsa
that's
the
the
purple
too, right?
drops.
Huh?
That's the issue. Is like purple's so contested and congested with 1-drops that are really, really good. Why would I ever play the Goon Elsa just to play this card? Like, is it worth it?
It's not.
Yeah.
Like, we're getting at a point where it's going to be harder and harder to have new cards year 11.
Yeah.
100%. Like, that's why at some points we'll need rotation. Like,
yeah,
inevitable.
Yeah. And like,
it's TCG. Like, people that don't want rotation, they just haven't played TCG before.
Rotation is
eventually they'll want it. They just don't know yet.
I
Yeah.
just want to rotate 2 and 4. I'm cool with 1 and 3 sticking around. They're actually pretty interesting. But like, the set 2 with Cindy Let the Storm Rage on, Popsicle Hiram, and the purple package is just like smothered everything. And then set 4 with Flynn Sisu and Big Sisu and Brawl. And then the Diablo package is just like crushing everything.
And the Diablo, yeah.
all right, quick question: is this better than Elsa's Ice Palace or not?
Ooh,
Much better.
I think it's probably.
Yes.
I think it's better. I think it's better.
All right, just want to make sure.
Like, if there's a playable Ana, this gets even more interesting.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's just like
currently it's just what the 2 blue ones, right?
there's
closest to being
Yeah, the
playable?
one in purple is pretty bad.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's 2 purple
Both in
ones
purple.
that are both uninkable and both not very good. Yeah, we would need better Annas. Maybe a Goon Anna and Elsa.
So like, what?
Yeah, maybe they could do like a Flotsam Jetsam thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just like a Mal Sorceress Ana. You know?
That'd be interesting.
Just give me something I can just slot in and not feel bad about.
Yeah.
But like, you know that the Ana's going to be 1 point worse in some stat because it's Ana and the starting.
Yeah.
So
Going to
true.
get paired
so
together.
Yeah, just make it a 0-0.
What if it was just Tipo? Like, you could just make Ana.
Yo.
Just give us a blue purple Ana
Tipo.
and it all comes together.
An Anna Elsa Tipo. Yes, then it works.
Oh,
Let's
wait
go.
a minute.
Let's go. Let's do it.
I don't know. I mean,
All right.
one thing I'll note from I've been playing card games since almost 30 years at this point, is that like we're like the upper echelon of competitive players, which means a majority of the product made is not for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Mark Rosewater, the lead Magic guy, some time ago published some article that was like 50% of players don't even play in tournaments; they just like play at their kitchen table. And I think something like this is just a slam dunk for the players.
That's fair. I think Dakar is that way too.
And
They're
I know a
big
lot of
top 12.
people who like they enter into TCGs with starter decks and then get a large amount of anxiety trying to change them because they don't want to make it worse. And they like don't know how to build decks, but like they want to start and they don't want to just like go online and copy something. And a card like this is like pretty obvious. It's like find all the Anos that you have in your shoebox and pull them out and put them in a deck, right? And like find your Elsas too. And it makes like that deck building process easier. So like, I just don't think that we're the target audience of these cards.
I agree.
That's certainly fair.
Yeah.
I guess really wanted one good, cool Blurple card.
Do you have one left that is not spoiled?
We have one left, yes.
There are how many are there per color pair?
Four.
And so we got this, the Merlin,
The Sven, which
The
is
Sven.
okay. I don't know. Like the thing is, like I knew like the super rare ones would be like the most interesting out there design, so I'm a little sad that our super rare is not very playable.
It dawned to me today on my drive home from work that Merlin and his cottage synergize together.
Yes, they do.
You can Merlin on one, and then cottage on two, and then ramp.
And somebody could have a lot of fun with that.
And then your Merlin dies. But like, imagine if your opponent misses their one drop. You're like golden.
Oh, you can do it again.
Crazy.
I think that's the most explosive ramping you can do, right? If your opponent doesn't interact with it.
No, you're still only ramping on 2, right?
You can go Merlin's Sail, Merlin's Cottage, ramp again with Merlin, so you play turn 5 on turn 3. That's the dream line. That's
Does it
not
come?
very...
I don't even know if it comes to play ready or not.
What, the Cottage?
No, the
Merlin Ink.
The Merlin
From
Ink.
the small Merlin? It doesn't matter,
It's
right?
a quest.
But I
Yeah.
don't think it does.
It has to quest to do its effect, but if you like play it on 1 and then Sail Cottage, you can quest with it to ramp a second time plus the Sail.
Yeah.
And then you're at 5 next turn.
Yeah, and
You
it
get
is
to
exciting.
5 on turn 3.
And then you've played 2 unplayable cards.
Yep. But
I hope your
hey,
5 drop is a draw 4 because.
right?
Whoa, he's
right?
gonna shift, right? He's gonna shift.
No, wait.
Wait, you can shift. You're right. Oh.
Oh, shift the Merlin. Is
Yeah.
that the 5?
Yeah.
Shift 5?
Yeah, shift 5.
Yeah,
It
tutor or
just has
anything,
to
right?
live being a 0-1 that's exerted. That'll happen.
And you just need a song that says draw multiple cards. Then.
Okay. We got a plan.
Merlin.
Finders Keeper. What about turn 3 Finders Keepers to
No, face down and exerted, guys. It's the dream is dead.
Well, no, you can still sail. Merlin's Cottage is 1 drop though, so you can still Sail Cottage.
Yeah, you can still.
Yeah, that works. But you don't get the
You can't
ink on
TPO.
turn 3.
Yeah, no, you don't get it for free, unfortunately.
Cottage is 1 to play, 1 to equip. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 1, and then you don't have to pay
1-1.
anything. Then it's just you're flipping your deck upside down.
Any last minute cards? Anyone? Sailor, Joseph, Dave.
Don't need to go deep on it, but I think the Pete's playable. The green steel Pete.
Oh yeah,
I
that card's
think,
very good potential.
Green Steel Pirates actually got a good chunk of things.
Yeah, the Smee is good too, and the Smee is the captain that protects the 2-drop
The
Smee.
other Smee. Yep.
Yeah.
So you can
it's
Smee
also
and
a captain
Smee
for Donald.
and,
I just think that the non-songs actions in green and steel are too bad. Like you're just making your deck worse by running them.
Yeah, like the best you have is what? Cannons, Smash, Baboom, and
Improvise.
Improvise.
yeah.
We need another good one to really make that maybe.
You know
work.
what's
That's
in
cheap.
green that loves bad actions?
Is it Pete?
Diablo.
Hey,
Oh,
Throw them
Diablo.
in your bin to shift in Diablo on turn 2.
let's go.
Actually, Pete's not a bad idea either. Now that I think about it.
I'm not too high on that 3 cost me. I think it's like medium.
Yeah, he's all right.
I think Pete might be good enough regardless. So, just as a big annoying shift guy.
Yeah. Do we ever play Bucky again? There's so many shifts now.
No, I'm sorry, Bucky's dead,
What do you mean?
and that's where he belongs.
Well, another hot take, but I think I would. Wonder said this. He tweeted about it like a week or 2 ago that he'd rather play against Bucky than Hiram.
Yeah, yeah.
For sure, today I'd rather they unban Bucky than have to play against.
Coil.
Like the downside to like the when you're playing against Coil, I don't even know if it's better for them to play Coil or 2 or to ramp on 2. That's how bad it is. And there's 12 options now, right? Like they will never miss a 2-on-2 anymore. Because like they have 4 coils, 4 TPOs, 4 sails. Like there's just no missing.
When everyone was on the ban Diablo train, I was like, sure, but also ban Hiram, because those are both equally powerful and game warping. I know Diablo is kind of fallen by the wayside.
I don't agree, but that Hiram needs to be banned, by the way. Like it doesn't impact the board, right? Like as long as you're doing things to the board, you basically it punishes like mid-range decks, and that's just what people likes to play, right?
Yep.
I would ban Popsicle.
I also think that when you banish something else than Popsicle, it's actually not that good.
Yeah, that's my feeling too.
Like it really is Popsicle that you want to banish with Hiram. If you banish your Ice Block or your Vitalosphere, you're just +1 card. You know, it's not that great. And you've invested 5 ink that don't impact the board into being +5 and +1. Like that's really bad.
However they do it, they're probably going to have to tap red-blue somehow, whether or not it's Hiram or something else. But I guess we'll see next set.
The thing that so I think if there was actually a DLC with the set on the calendar, that for sure something in this deck would need to get touched. But the fact that we're probably going to skirt through the next 3 months without a major official event, maybe Worlds will take, for Sailor.
Yeah, we don't know.
Maybe it's there, maybe it's not. I don't even know. But
it'd be weird for them to not have anything for that set.
Yeah, it would be funny. Is if like the set championship card in the mat was like the shark, and we got back into like a set 3 situation.
Please do that. I want that.
Yeah, like a very good
card. Yeah,
and
the mat's only to the winner now, right? So those are going to be
try hard. It's set champs again. I want that. The 6th season was so fun.
Yeah, mat prices should be going up now. Or that it's only the champion, right?
Yep.
If they make if the mat is an enchanted shark or like this new Tamatoa or something like that, it could get bloody in the streets with people fighting over.
Oh yeah.
Actually, even though it's a terrible card, the new Elsa would actually be a good pick.
Yeah, the art on that is actually like really nice.
I would be shocked.
One of the things that I have been saying for since sets 5, I think the 5-cost Elsa that we have is like an incredible art.
Yep.
And I think it's like a crime for them not to have used that as like a DLC promo.
Absolutely.
Whatever.
That'd be
like,
such a good promo.
It's just like a very high playable card that people's like to play with a very nice character. Like, how have they not been using that card whatsoever?
They gotta push out more good promos. Like, I mean, there's so much they could do.
Yeah, for all we know, this set champs promo is gonna be like Cybug or something. So.
Dude, if it's
that's next level pessimism.
It's gonna be the green Tremaine. That's what I think.
Oh god,
Tremaine?
The green Tremaine, it's so awful.
Oh, it's not good.
It's even worse than the Mirabelle.
I can't believe the past 2 have just been so
it's not
awful.
Worse than Mirabelle.
Mirabelle you can't even put in play, like ever.
Actually, no, Mirabelle can't even be played. Yeah, so
the effect on Tremaine is actually good. Right?
I'm pretty sure if you're on the play,
overcosted and uninkable, but outside of that, like the effect is pretty good.
I'm pretty sure it's not even possible to put Mirabelle into play on the play if you just like curve out.
No, it's not.
You run out
so
of
bad.
ink for cards. Like your top deck.
You need to wait and not do something. For
you have to pass a turn.
Mirabelle can't be played. I don't know why they thought like Scar was good last set either.
Not to mention, like if your opponent just plays Fire the Cannons instead, it was all for nothing.
If my opponent does nothing and I just play characters 5 turns in a row, I'll get there.
Yeah, you just gotta hold the line and you'll get there. Somehow. Wait, didn't we get a new Mirabelle?
Yes.
It's a singer. It's an evasive. Yellow-purple singer.
Give me a good 5-cost Amber song, please. From Mirabelle to sing.
It's okay.
Or purple song.
The Amber Coil will save the day whenever it comes.
I don't think we're going to see good songs ever again. Like, not the way that we consider them now. Not the set 1 or 2 songs.
So have we been having good songs lately?
No, the songs have been bad for the past few years.
All the songs these days are some iteration of do some minimal effect draw card. Like that green one, Heffalumps and Woozles. Then there's the When Will My Life Begin, and then the other steel one that says like somebody can't.
I'm Still Here was actually decent. Give Resist 2. That was okay, but we haven't got any like big songs lately that really impact the
we
game.
haven't gotten Zeus or
set 4. We had a few good ones, like We Don't Talk About Bruno.
That was
A
big.
Pirate's Life.
That ended up being big.
Under
the Sea was set 4 as well, of course, which was pretty relevant.
Yeah.
But since set 4, like set 5 and so far set 6 have been very dry on songs.
Yeah, it's been really dry in the number of
set 5 was
songs.
what? Just like You're Welcome, and that was the best?
Yeah, basically. And Heffalumps was that set, I guess, but that was... No, set 4... No, I think... set 5 was Your Welcome.
Set 5 only had 8 songs.
Yeah.
And only You're Welcome was good.
And even that, it's like... It's only played in like
fringe.
It's only playable in like green blue really right now.
Yeah, and what about Azurite Sea? Only 8. No, even less.
It's like
only
one each,
6
right?
songs.
Yeah, one each color.
Wow.
It's been.
They've really been not high on songs anymore, which is weird.
It's because I get it because songs are broken from a design perspective in terms of being able to play them for free. So I get why they're being very careful on new songs. But given the amount of counterplay they have introduced to songs now, I think they could add some good songs again.
Well, go back to the feedback that we had 3 weeks after set 2 came out, when people were getting A Whole New World on turn 2 by the Queen.
I remember that.
Like, it was just nonsense. Right, and so like that feedback probably rang pretty true, and they were like, we need to cut all of these good songs out of the game because like this is miserable.
Ursula 2 came out and we had the necessary evil check and it was okay, kind of.
Like, could you imagine if Naveen got another good song to play in a different color combination?
Yeah.
Give me a green.
So that's one of the things that we said in set 3, right? Like when they printed 3-drop Ursula, it was like, oh, they're very, very much thanking all their design potential for songs for the rest of the game, right?
Yeah,
That's
it's
all
very
it is.
I
limiting.
think that's kind of what happened after it.
Yeah.
Because of Ursula 3 and even Naveen, like you have to be extra careful now on what you're printing. Because one wrong move and the game's ruined. I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, look at this family doesn't even get
Too expensive.
So set 4 had a lot of song because there was the sync together.
yeah.
I
In
want
terms
that
of sync
mechanic
together
back.
as well, that was kind of somewhat a flop, but like...
I think Syndicate. Well, I mean, I played Yellow Green, so of course.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Under the Sea was the best we got, and then it
the rest
was
were bad.
Pirate's Life.
Pirate's
I
Life
probably
and-
ended up being good, though. That's true.
Dig a little deeper was
Yeah, dig a little
Marginally
For a
played.
while. Right, exactly, DKP.
Yeah,
Like I think Syndicate was a really cool mechanic, and I think how it functioned with Under the Sea was actually really good gameplay in terms of really powerful, but your opponent can counterplay it by taking out your guys. So I'd love to see Syndicate back again because I think it does introduce good play and counterplay. It sucks it gets abandoned. It.
yeah. Like I thought it was a cool mechanic. I just wish there was like, I guess, better ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like that's pretty much it. We talked about most of the new cards we wanted to. I think when they're all released, we'll actually do like we'll have a nice sit down video and go through the entire set, and then maybe some of our opinions would change on some of these cards. I doubt it, but I mean,
Let's
who
see
knows,
the
right?
Goon Elsa.
Yeah, Goon
I mean,
Elsa.
It's always context dependent.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're trying to piece off like opinions, but like anything that can happen and change the whole thing.
Although
And
we've
that's
seen,
one of
like,
the
half
best
the
things
set at
about
this point, so-
spoiler season, right? Is like you never know. Like
You
this
never
card
know.
might seem ass right now, but you know another card that's going to come out. No, to speak of a new card, look what we got. What is this?
Oh, I love new
Honey Lemon
card.
2/2 Inkable Quest for 1. Whenever you play a Floodborn character, if you use shift to play them, remove up to 2 damage counters from chosen
Why
character.
is that so bad?
Anyways.
So bad. So bad.
Got my
He
hopes
said
up
it's
there
just
for a
a
second.
common.
Oh, the blue shifts. They're so good, right?
Yeah, they're amazing. Oh, it's an inventor. Oh my goodness.
Like, I don't know. I know
I
it's
think
not
that
supposed to
Baymax
be
is pretty good.
Baymax
I
is
think
actually
Baymax
really
is
good.
fine.
Very solid.
Oh,
I know. Oh,
always at the end, Luke.
always at the end.
We're already
Just
cut,
talking
buddy.
about the amazing new reveal we just got.
Yeah.
That's gonna break the meta.
Which one?
Honey
Honey
lemon.
lemon.
So crazy.
So like that's
Gonna
a
break
card
the-
to me. Like if the baseline vanilla character is like a 2/3 or a 3/2 for 2, this effect should just be stapled onto that.
Isn't this just a worse dog?
Yes. Yes, it's like amazingly bad.
Whoa, but I can play what's that song that gives +6 to inventors?
Like, why do you even like have the shift requirement here? If you didn't have the shift requirement, would it be too broken?
Because Bucky broke the world.
Yeah, Bucky
Come
ruined
on.
everything.
Like, come on.
Hi, Sailor.
Hey, buddy.
He's like, this jerk's here now. Talk.
I don't know. I get the
I
feeling
don't
that
know. We were kind of like
Wrapping up.
cruising through the end when you
Yeah.
joined.
Oh, we can still end. It's fine.
I think we're just hanging out at this point. I'm dooming about that stupid.
1 sec.
I just had to come for the Wonderland finish, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was talking with LD about it. I really think that Sapphire Coil just went completely untested straight through. Just
That's crazy.
I
to
feel
think
like
about.
I feel like someone looked at it. They're like, "Oh, I don't need to put once per turn. People can only ink once per turn."
like I just think it just passed. Like there was supposed to be just this garbage collection of items that was never going to see play.
But like, why do
It's-
they make this one less? Like, it's so bizarre that it's clearly the best one that also gets to be inkable and cost less. It's so weird. It makes no sense.
That is a little interesting.
Yeah.
I
don't
guess
know.
I guess if the green one was inkable and cost 2, would also be pretty insane. In
And I guess I
fairness,
never
but
even looked at what the green one did.
it gives something evasive till the start of your next turn. So it's like actually not like
Very
it's,
good
it's a
in
decent effect. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
the
really
effect
good.
is
looking.
not
It's-
terrible.
It's broken and limited.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's
that-
pretty
that auto-
similar to
Longboats.
Yes, long
the
road.
other item in effect. The one that the Chromacon Emerald.
Yeah, actually, it's quite a bit different than Chromacon, I think.
I mean,
but,
it's
like,
different, right? But like in the same vein of like protecting your stuff.
Yeah,
Mhm.
same vein. That's fair.
What does the Amethyst
I don't know,
one
like,
do? 3 cost.
Maybe
Oh,
Boost
I'm
one
just
damage.
the only one. I'm just like, whatever. They ink. They have to have Fishbone Quill, so they have to play into it to make it really good. So what? They like ink, activate Fishbone Quill, play a Sisu to get 1 extra character. They're probably wiping my
See,
board
that's
anyways.
where I think you're right. I don't think
Like-
you have to do anything but just ink per turn.
Yeah, and see, that's fine. To me, that means that they spent twice as much ink on their ice block. And it forces them to have to ink in some of the situations where it's like a top deck and we've got all their cards. I actually think people are maybe a little too doomsay on it. I think it will be
I agree with
okay.
that.
It's not like, I think ice block showed us that the effect is relevant. Like way more than like, or at least I initially said Sailor's obviously smarter than everyone else, and like, or I guess I wasn't in the club beforehand, so maybe someone else told Sailor
I
about
was.
it and he ran away.
I was.
Yeah,
No, was I? Yes, I
you
was.
were here.
Yeah.
You were here before me.
Was I?
I remember when the set came out, and you were like, "We should try the Sisu and Ice thing."
Yeah,
And, like,
you were here.
We
Just
were just.
before.
I was just in the
with that.
voice chat every day instead of working, just slaughtering people with like 4 Sisu, 4 Be Prepared, just terrible
You're a
control
monster.
deck, and like nobody could beat anything. It was so funny.
No, yeah. I was definitely there for that, and I remember. Yeah.
8?
Yeah, it was just an experiment that worked.
Another thing is like I don't think they thought Sisu was going to be good.
It's way better than like it looks. Like my magic brain.
Yeah, my magic brain was the same way. I dismissed it when I first saw it.
Everybody, even including myself, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, it's so expensive. It's
like in Magic Brain, you
so
don't get
restrictive.
You don't get to play 8-cost cards in Magic.
Yeah, it's funny because I think the first deck Sailor actually posted that set was the Pride Lands one. Do you remember that? You posted?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That was the very first thing he was hyped up about before season.
Yeah, Pride Lands and the goat, right? The Phil.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was high on Phil and Pride Lands, and then the set before that was really high on Jafar. So like some of the thing that I've been high on were missed, right? Like that just happened that the Sisu Ice block was
Grand Slam, right? Like
because I remember seeing your screenshot of like this was back when Pixel One was there, like how tiny your board was, full of characters and like a prize.
Yeah, that was a fun experiment, but it was not good enough for sure.
Man, playing Rockstar recently has felt so good. Like
Rockstar's so fun.
I actually had the opposite experience. Like they just Zeus it immediately.
Oh well, like recently everyone's been cutting Zeus, so it's like as long as you're not playing against Amber Steel traditional, no one else has Zeus really. They're all like running strength, which
Unless
is
you're playing
obviously not great.
Purple Steel, he's high. He's very high.
Yeah, but the more popular versions are on Duck and Strength, right? Like Melissa played.
That's mostly just in-house. That's JD. That's John's build.
No, that's Patrick. Like Patrick, is GDRRs, but
Patrick is playing.
That's top 4 Continentals. Like,
to be fair, I'm been only playing this Rockstar deck like locally.
Yeah, wow.
So it's a little different.
Okay,
but
it feels good
Of
playing
course it does.
like
locally.
Zeus has properly gone back up in play, but there was a period, maybe even around NA, that Zeus was criminally underplayed, and like there's just cards that were good again. It's like I think out of set champs I also played Beast Relentless for the same reason, and I just got away with it. It's just like deal with it. You have to strength, but I'm playing steel, so it's unlikely you're going to be able to strength of 5 draw or 5 toughness.
So I'm playing in an invitational event with like Rob and Kurt and all the local Baltimore area people. I think even Justin will be there.
Yeah.
Yes, he's mentioned that.
He mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, so it's going to be a 64-person, I think, invitational opening weekend. As soon as these cards hit Lord Canito, I'm going to play. But if the Sapphire Coil deck is as good as I think it is, I'm just packing it up.
Slam it.
Okay, I'm going to have to pay opening weekend prices for Tamatoas if this deck is good.
Oh, yeah, man. Brace yourself for the $50 card. $200 playset, man.
Come on. Coming from Yu-Gi-Oh! Like that's
I mean, I don't mind.
That
I'm happy to do it if it's the best deck, but like I think this is just like I'm just gonna pull an Ed, like 4 small Sisu, 4 Medusa, 4 big Sisu, 4 Brawl. Like
pain.
2 liner.
Be like Naveen, where it comes out and it's 30, and then like half the set through it's like 10.
Ain't that the way of it?
Yeah, I don't think Tamatoa is because I said it in the set review. Like the problem with Naveen is really the uninkability. Like it's a great card, but like at if it was inkable, all the Ember Steel decks would run 4, right?
Yeah,
that's the thing with Tamatoa. Like it's inkable, and it can be ran in multiple blue decks. Like it's gonna be expensive.
I think I didn't say it earlier, but I actually think the 6-cost one is scarier when it quests. Because it's like
its questability.
Because like it can quest on turn 5 or 6 and put a diamond in play. Like that's so scary.
Yeah, when it quests, you can put an item for free into play.
Like in blue steel,
that doesn't actually scare me as much. I would like it's good.
Yeah, because it's not as well statted as the other one.
Well, it's just not the card advantage. Like the other one also drew cards.
You get 2
when you play, you get 2 item back.
True. I mean, it's probably actually the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
but
You're
sooner.
probably dead after 2 activations of an old Tamatoa.
I'm gonna head out, but it was lovely talking to you folks and a pleasure being on this one.
But yeah, I guess that's it. We kind of went through the cards you want to talk about. Talked about Melissa's run. We had Luke join us for the Wonderland finish, and but yeah, great to have you guys, Luke, Sailor, Dave. Next week, Josh. Next week, what? More new cards, I guess. I don't know if we have any other news coming up.
Next week will probably be a top 5.
One can hope, but yeah. Thanks for watching, and see you later.